All
Always.
right, there we are. We see that we're live. There's the date on there, and we're looking for Tony. Nope, we're here first. All right. Kind of feels like that progressive commercial, where it's like, has Superman arrived yet? Like, no, he's not coming here. We beat Superman. That's us, kids. Good morning. Nice to have you here live from Lake Wissota. We will get this show started at 6:06 all across the Civic Media Radio Network. We will be talking about a new stunt rider. It's Congressman Derrick Van Orden. He's going on a ride, and it's a stunt, and we'll be talking about that. And then there's Sean Duffy pulling his own stunt, echoing what the president is saying about, who gets to get bonuses. It's whoever the president says gets to get bonuses. That's not how this is all supposed to work. We will talk to Bryn Horton in today's Homeroom segment. You know her from the Wisconsin Public Education Network. And we will be discussing what the legislature is taking up. And Democrats have been putting forward some pretty good bills that would strengthen our public schools. Those are not the bills that are being taken up, believe it or not. There are some that would simply make it easier for struggling school districts to consolidate. But combining two small problems just gets you one big problem if you don't address the root causes. And so we'll talk to Bryn about that. And we are going to talk about deer hunting season. We will be talking to Greg Gunderson from our Civic Media station up in Park Falls about there's a big deer hunters roundup that's been taking place for some 50 years on our station up in Park Falls. All that and so much more ahead starting at 6:06. But first, a little news.
MDXradio.com. For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. 20 Wisconsin school districts are waiting for funding from the federal government. Joanne Krulatz reports.
Governor Tony Evers sent a letter to U.S. Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon demanding that she immediately release federal impact aid payments for 20 school districts across Wisconsin. Schools were supposed to receive the first round of payments in October for federal school funding known as impact aid, which is used by schools for basic operations such as payroll, transportation, programs, and new positions, among other critical areas. Federal impact aid is one of the most flexible sources of funding, enabling school districts to hire and pay teachers, purchase instructional materials, and support student transportation needs. 20 school districts located across Wisconsin, from Bayfield to Seymour to Black River Falls, received impact aid payments in 2025, totaling over $23 million. Most, but not all, eligible schools are operated by federally recognized tribal nations located in Wisconsin.
You might hear jets overhead throughout the next week. The 115th Fighter Wing will be doing training exercises starting today. Much of it will be during the daytime, but they're required to do nighttime training too. You might hear the flights until about 8 o'clock at night. That training begins today, continues tomorrow, will stop for Friday, and then starts up again all next week from Monday through Friday. The F-35 jets have been controversial to Madisonians because they can be so loud. Meanwhile, a group of Wisconsin veterans got a special thank you over the weekend. About 70 of them were on a Badger Honor flight to Washington, D.C. And when they landed in the nation's capital, they heard the voice of former President Barack Obama, who boarded the plane to thank each one of them for their service. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Bucks basketball tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. NBA, it's the Bucks and the Hornets in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Bucks coming off a win over the Mavericks in Dallas. Men's college basketball, Wisconsin with a win at the Kohl Center, 86-55 over Ball State. The Badgers now 3-0. Baseball, Brewers manager Pat Murphy named National League Manager of the Year for a second year in a row. NFL, the Eagles defense came prepared. Packers running back Josh Jacobs says he could hear the Eagles defenders calling out their plays before they even ran them.
4th and 1, they called out our play. We ran it like 4 times. They called it out. As a runner, it don't never feel good. They called it out. We called our play. They said inside zone. It's coming right here. So I kind of didn't want to run right there, But that's just how I played out. It's not the end of the world, but it's also some problems we got to address.
That's the Packers' Josh Jacobs with Sports on Mike Clemens.
Don't miss the stories that impact your life. Catch the WMDX News Roundup in podcast form. Go to WMDXradio.com to subscribe.
Sunny and breezy today. We'll get to around 50 by early this afternoon. The temperatures are going to drop back into the mid-40s by late this afternoon. The wind west gusting to 25 to 30 today. Tonight, partly cloudy. Will drop into the mid to upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp now 37.
This portion of John and Gordy brought to you by Verlo. Experience the Verlo mattress difference. For a limited time, purchase a mattress from the V3 collection and get a free upgrade to an adjustable foundation. American-made, locally crafted, right here in Madison. Come shop at Verlo and sleep well tonight.
Seems like nobody in America agrees on much of anything these days.
But can we agree the federal government shouldn't tax people into poverty?
If you work full-time, you should be able to afford your basic needs. Don't you think? We're the patriotic millionaires.
We believe your full-time job should cover what it costs to live. We think your first $45,000 of income should be tax-free.
And multimillionaires?
We should pay more to fund your tax cut. Go to first45taxfree.com to learn more. A working class tax cut paid for by millionaires. That's an idea we can all agree on.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06. It's a Wednesday morning, November 12th, 2025. Another beautiful, bright morning to have you here up north, live from Lake Wissota, from wherever you're spending your mornings listening across the Civic Media Radio Network. However you got here, good to have you here. Like I said, it's a bright morning. Not just one of the brightest half moons that you might ever see after that really bright full moon. But I got a question for you. Could you get enough of those northern lights overnight? They might still be going right now for all I know. I don't have a north-facing window here. But we started seeing social media posts in the early evening that said, northern lights were going to be especially visible tonight. People were already putting up photos like, 8, 9 o'clock last night. And we're kind of partially obscured with trees here when we're looking north, but we could tell there was a little something out there. And then, somebody of a certain age had to get up at 1:30 anyway. And it was there. I've seen sharper ones and, visiting Canada and things like that. And then got up at my usual time this morning and could not believe how widespread and bright they were. Again, not really sharp and well-defined, although if you point like your camera at it, your iPhone camera or whatever, and you get that little 2-second exposure, those pictures are just nice. And it was, but again, just so widespread and bright. And then I looked on social media, an hour or two ago, and again, just so many fabulous pictures that people were putting up. So I hope that you got a chance to catch them as well. If you did, if you want to entertain us, and maybe we'll put it up on social media, you can certainly use the Civic Media app to send us a text message or to text photos to us, or just call us 855-75-CIVIC. And maybe you're much more of a poet than I am and can describe the the blues and the greens and the pinks that you saw in the sky. Or you can put a comment on Facebook or YouTube, or you can plant a photo there as well and let us know just how pretty it was around by you. Coming up this morning, we're going to talk about Wisconsin's newest stunt rider, Derrick Van Orden. He's a motorcycle rider, and he's pulling a political stunt with it, and we'll talk a bit about that along the way, along with so much more. But first, before we tell you what's up for the rest of the show, let's check in with Parker Olson, who is producing the shindig down in Madison Studio A2. Now, I know that there were places like cities. People were posting from Washington, D.C., they never get the northern lights there, and they were able to see it. So let's see if it got as far down to Madison. Mr. Olson, good morning. Did you see anything?
Good morning, Captain Kreitlow. No, I did not see any, mainly because I didn't know.
Oh,
which
okay.
I'm upset about.
Wait,
Because I'm looking in our general chat here at Civic Media, and there are tons
there
of
are
pictures
tons
from
of pictures.
my area.
Yes, from down there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple in Middleton, a couple in Madison that I'm seeing, and I know where one of these guys lives in Madison, which is like 5 minutes from me, and I didn't see anything, so I'm upset.
It is tough when you miss it, but yeah, we have a chat section here on the Civic Media program, and for Up North News we have something called Slack where people are sharing photos from around the country, and it's really impressive. And I'm sorry that you missed it, but
One day. I've never seen the Northern Lights, Pat.
Seriously?
I've never.
I mean, I shouldn't say. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I've only seen them a couple of times myself. So. Right. But I was it last year? I remember earlier this year. Remember, I went to Canada and I was stranded up there. Remember how that flight got canceled?
The first international show in Civic Media history. Yeah.
That's right. Well, when I went to go visit those friends the year before, the Northern Lights in Saskatchewan. I mean, my goodness.
Bet, yeah.
Oh, I can't even possibly tell you. And those are some of the best pictures I have on my phone right now. On the text line here from Jim in Brookfield. Good morning, Pat. I may have missed the update. What happened to Don Rue's voice in the introduction? Well, that was Terry, right? Terry Barr there doing the show
Terry,
introduction.
this last one. Yep.
And you may have heard Luke Mathers yesterday, and Don Rue is still in the mix. Don and I go way, way back. My first post-college radio job up at the old WAQE in Rice Lake. And Don is now semi or mostly retired, but it was nice of him to cut some tracks for us. And, that's been 3 years now. So we said, let's start to, mix it up a bit. So now you're hearing Terry and you're going to hear Luke and you're going to hear some other voices along the way, but Don will still be there. Don is very much still in things, Jim, but thank you for noticing that as well. Let's see. Also coming up on the program today, we're going to talk about Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy's trip to Wisconsin and the things that he had to say about air traffic controllers with the government shutdown, and how the little prince is very happy if the king wants to decide which air traffic controllers get paid and bonuses and which ones don't. So we'll chat about that in just a little while. We have the gun deer season coming up, and perhaps there's no hunting tradition that is more cherished in Wisconsin than the 9-day gun hunt. And Greg Gunderson will be joining us from our Civic Media station up in Park Falls, where they've been doing the Deer Hunters Roundup, a special week of programming during the deer hunting season for 50 years now. And so he's going to tell us all about that because, well, for all those years, you could really only hear it, in the Park Falls area. But now that it's on the Civic Media radio network, you can get that Civic Media app. And you can listen in as all these hunters call in and share stories and tell jokes and talk about their trophies and everything else. So you'll want to give a listen when we have Gray coming on at about 8:35 this morning. At 7:35 will be, it's Wednesday, so it's our Homeroom segment, and we'll be talking to Bryn Horton from the Wisconsin Public Education Network. The legislature's in its fall session. They're taking up all kinds of bills, including education-related bills. There are many good proposals that were put forward by Democratic legislators, and it appears, based on the committee calendars, none of them are being taken up. The Republican ones that are being taken up are not exactly the best ideas for education. For example, just making it easier to consolidate school districts. Well, look, school districts are struggling, but it's because of a lazy legislature that won't adequately fund them. If you're simply going to take two struggling school districts and allow them to consolidate or even merge, well, what happens when you combine two small problems and don't do anything else? You just get one big problem. You just get longer school bus rides and things like that. So we'll talk a bit more about what's being considered in the state capitol. Now, look, if you can't stick around for all of this, and that's just the start. We've got Melissa Baldoff with a climate check, Earl Ingram with the What's Going On podcast, sports director Jimmy Kuska will be joining us as well. And so, look, if you can't be here from now until 9 o'clock, here's what you do. You pod this program. You get yourself over to Spotify or Apple, and then you follow us that way as a podcast. That way you can either pick a new time of day to listen more regularly, or you can just listen back at times when you want to hear a particular guest or a particular topic. We would love to have you as a follower that way. Similarly, we'd like to have you as a subscriber to the Up North News Daily newsletter. You can sign up for that over at upnorthnewswi.com, and I'm just pulling up what Ellie Bordeaux has put together for us, because Ellie will be joining us as well less than an hour from now. Oh, she is still putting up photos that people are sending in. These are not Northern Lights. These are fall colors, which, again, almost as brilliant as the Northern Lights when you talk about colors that you can see in Wisconsin just by looking up. Let's see. She's also got the latest in her civic check-ins, talking about democracy and the dangers to it, including, looking for the telltale shifts toward fascism, which, again, nobody comes out and says, hey, I'm fascist. In the same way that nobody comes right up and says, hey, I'm racist. Hey, I'm a misogynist. And it doesn't work that way. People say the things that they say. They do the things that they do. And it's up to all of us to look at that and weigh what they're saying and doing and saying, that's racist. that's sexist. That's bigoted. And that's creeping fascism right there, what you're embracing there, sir. So how to recognize those signs. Ellie's got an article about that in our newsletter. And as well, there is a story in there from Ellie about celebrating Native American Heritage Month in Wisconsin. So again, you can sign up for the newsletter over at upnorthnewswi.com. In sports, just a couple of quick notes here. First, from a basketball standpoint, let's see, it was the Badger men's basketball team. They were in action, and Parker, they're 3-0, 24th ranked in the country. They beat up on Ball State 86-55 last night at the Kohl Center. And so now next Monday, they host the final of a 4-game homestand to start the season. They will be next Monday hosting SIUE, which begs the question, what is SIUE?
Southern Illinois Easton.
Not Easton, but you're in the ballpark. Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. Edwardsville is a suburb of St. Louis, I guess. And so, yes, SIUE, the Fighting Sueys? I don't know. Whatever they are.
We're going to find this one out here.
Okay. Well, Parker looks for that. I will tell you that will be coming up next Monday, and you'll be able to hear the game on several civic media stations. And then that ends that 4-game start to the series. And then it is off to games in Salt Lake City and San Diego after that for the Badgers. Tony puts up on YouTube, I think Wisconsin could be the best team in the MAC. Let's see about the Big Ten. Yeah, this is what, again, and no offense, but this is, why they call it the cupcake part of the schedule, and why if there is a loss in there, it's kind of a big deal. These are the games that you're supposed to win. It's not quite preseason, but these are the tune-ups for the Big Ten season to come. So that's the one sports event that took place yesterday. Let's see. We also have, of course, the Badgers taking on Indiana in football this coming Saturday. The Packers take on the Giants this Sunday at noon. We have Badger women's basketball hosting Bowling Green tonight at 6:30. The Badger men's hockey team will be hosting Ohio State this weekend. The Badger women's hockey team will be at St. Cloud State. Badger women's volleyball will be at Michigan State this coming weekend. And the Bucks will be in Charlotte tonight. And then again on Friday, they will play Charlotte at home in the NBA Cup. Anyway, here's the other sports story we really want to get into. Pat Murphy, manager of the year for the second year in a row. Congratulations, Grumpy, as my wife calls him. Because whenever they do the cutaway, no, he's a sweetheart. He's a wonderful guy. But every time they do the cutaway during the game, she'll be like, hi, Grumpy. Because there he is, unless he's munching on a pocket pancake or something like that.
It's rare he doesn't look grumpy.
It is, and yet he gets it done. And Kurt Hogg from the Journal-Sentinel has a long article in this morning's newspaper all about the many things that he does that won him that honor. Too many to list here, from the morale to the bullpen management, the starting pitchers, the game time decisions, the rookies that he fought for to make the roster, and so much more. And it's all well-deserved. And yeah, obviously we want to get even deeper in the playoffs here, but that was well-deserved by Pat Murphy. And related to the Brewers, Pat Murphy's not the only one who won Manager of the Year 2 years in a row. Stephen Vogt from the Cleveland Guardians, former Brewers catcher and overall nice guy, won AL Manager of the Year for the second year in a row. Two of the most well-deserving people. Now, that's a World Series I really would like to see someday.
Oh, God, I would love to see
Is
that.
a Pat Murphy Brewer team and a Stephen Vogt Cleveland team? That would be something good. So we got goals to shoot for next year. We'll cover some news notes from Sean Duffy and Derrick Van Orden and more right after this from the heart of America's Up North, live from Lake Wissota. Thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm pretty sure Tony would have to call in sick for the entire week.
I was going to say, I think that would eat Tony alive.
Yeah.
Having those two play each other.
Yeah. No, he says Cleveland would blow a 3-1 lead, and I would cry. Well, yeah, that is the risk that you take.
Or the Brewers would go up 3-1 and somehow go to a Game 7.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Oh.
So true. All right.
Don't you love sports?
Sports, yep. Lives to break your heart.
Price. So gather with friends as you sit down to eat, grateful for all who made Thanksgiving complete.
With curbside pickup available and the lowest prices for over 30 years, you'll always find what you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Autumn awesomeness awaits, courtesy of David J. Frank Landscape. Introducing Fall Porchscapes, professionally designed decor literally delivered to your front door. Installation and removal included. A hassle-free way to bring fall flair to your home or business. And consider a fall cleanup to preserve the beauty and health of your yard. There's more to a good cleanup than raking leaves. Call the experts at David J. Frank at 608-283-9276 or visit davidjfrank.com.
What is a commercial? It's a message delivered to the people, in this instance through your radio speakers, into your ears. Why, it's like a movie for your brain. This radio commercial is directed to the business community. If you want to reach more customers, you should be using WMDX Radio. It's that simple. Just email sales@WMDXradio.com and let our crack sales team show you how to make your business grow with the #1 medium known to humankind, the radio commercial on WMDX. Long may you wave.
As a fellow military veteran, I relied on my team to get through very difficult missions. We had each other's back and supported our teammates through thick and thin. If you find yourself struggling to make it another day or know someone who is, reach out. Support is at reachout.com.
855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. If you want to address our question of the day, could you ever get sick of seeing those northern lights? Did you get to see them last night? And would you want to maybe text us over a photo and we might put it on one of our social media pages? Wait, you have social media pages? Yes, we do, he said. You can follow us on social media. Well, for Up North News, you can just search for Up North News WI and follow us there. But of course, we also have a show page on Facebook called Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. And because Twitter and Blue Sky don't allow such a long name, we've shortened it to PK Radio Show. You can find that over at Twitter and Blue Sky, where we put up posts and photos there as well. And then, of course, there's our question of the week from our Sunday morning newsletter. Sign up at upnorthnewswi.com. This week's question, should marijuana be legalized and to what degree? There is a bipartisan bill in the legislature that would change the way that weed is legalized in Wisconsin. Do you feel like it should be fully legalized for recreational use, medicinal only, tightly restricted, or fully restricted? We'd love to know what you think. And the people who subscribe to our Sunday morning newsletter get to see the question of the week first before everybody else. And then we talk about it on the radio for the rest of the week here. All right, well, Derrick Van Orden made national news. And I'm sure that this was a nice little boost for him. I'm not really sure what it says, though, for his constituents. There I am watching NBC Nightly News, and they're putting up the social media clip that he put up of him getting set to ride his motorcycle from western Wisconsin to Washington, D.C. for taking a vote coming up here on ending the government shutdown. Again, a deal that will, for the moment, lock in place skyrocketing health insurance rates. Derrick Van Orden is rushing back to D.C. to jack up your health insurance costs. And doing it on a motorcycle. I got this to say. Even the most passionate motorcycle riders are smart enough to read a thermometer. That might explain why Van Orden is getting the national attention. He's riding through this windshield, through this wind chill. He's riding through this wind chill, racing the 900 miles there. And it's a fair question to ask. Is Derrick Van Orden showing himself to be the embodiment of hell on wheels, eager to take a vote to end the government shutdown, or is it more a case of brain freeze, choosing to focus on performative politics while racing to take a vote that could lock in huge hikes in health insurance costs? Or is it an indictment of the job being done by U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, that members of Congress would rather ride a motorcycle through very cold wind chills than to try to fly because of the way that the government shutdown has been managed? Well, that takes us to Sean Duffy, the former congressman up north in the 7th Congressional District, who was in Wausau recently for a meet and greet for his son-in-law, who is running for his old seat in Congress. Duffy has, in many ways, been part of the public face of the Trump administration, just echoing and me-tooing whatever it is that Donald Trump has to say. There were some stories about some White House staffers grumbling about him reigniting his feud with Elon Musk, as if the richest man in the world thinks a reality TV guy role-playing as NASA administrator is going to outrank him in Trump world. But anyway, on the visit, as mentioned in an article by Laura Schulte of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Duffy suggested and agreed with President Trump that air traffic controllers who have called in sick might not be eligible for bonuses that Donald Trump is floating out there on social media. Yesterday morning, Trump said on his tiny network that he was, quote, recommending a bonus of $10,000 per person for distinguished service for air traffic controllers who took no time off during the shutdown, and Duffy said he would support that. Trump in his post acknowledged that air traffic controllers will be paid in full when the shutdown ends, but that those who didn't come in to work at times may receive, quote, a negative mark against their record. Ooh, the president knows that you called in sick and you get a negative mark. He says those who want to find a new job would not be awarded any payment or severance, he said, and they'll be replaced by, quote, true patriots who will do a better job. Really? Did you suddenly fix the shortage of qualified air traffic controllers, or should I be even more nervous to fly and maybe ride shotgun on, does Derrick Van Orden have a sidecar? He might be able to shuttle riders around. Anyway, thank you, Mr. President and Secretary Duffy, for reminding America why we have labor unions. As noted by air traffic controllers, whose messages I've seen, while there is technically a union, it's not allowed to strike, of course, dating back to Ronald Reagan. Calling in sick is really the only influence they have to express a demand to improve a dangerous working environment. And what of those who called in sick because, they were sick? Or could no longer afford childcare because they weren't getting a paycheck, or needed a spouse to work a job with a paycheck that Donald Trump and Sean Duffy weren't holding hostage? Now, if you're trying to be a tough guy and you're siding with Trump and Duffy on this, yeah, that'll teach him a lesson. Well, then I congratulate you for having a life so privileged that you've never encountered a work environment so bad, including withheld paychecks, that you had to consider doing things you might not otherwise do, like go on strike. Oh, I've had jobs, you'll say. I've had tough jobs. Well, clearly not tough enough, and good for you. But here's the deal. Trump is not a king, and Duffy is not his little prince, much as he would like to be. We don't have presidents who willy-nilly decide you get paid X, and you get paid Y, and you get fired. As much as Donald Trump wants to, again, role play like he's on The Apprentice, He doesn't get to fire rank and file air traffic controllers individually or decide which ones get bonuses. We don't live in that kind of third world country, at least not before this year's Banana Republic took over. When we come back, we're going to have today's history lesson. We're going to learn the real origin behind the Buffalo Springfield song For What It's Worth. And as we look at things that happened on this day in history, I'm going to tell you about the Oregon whale incident. That's all coming up, along with so much more between now and 9 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. Live from the lake, I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
Boy, the road traffic remains active in rural Wisconsin, either hauling grain, moving equipment, or taking care of manure management. I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Wednesday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news driving the markets today. Boy, manure management so critical in a state like Wisconsin with a large livestock base, but you need to think safety first when it comes to managing that manure. Marguerite Tan is the Director of Environmental Programs at the National Pork Board, and she says you need to have a backup plan if something goes wrong.
Every single morning when we get up, before we start working with that manure, all of us need that reminder of what that emergency plan is, and if something happens, what we need to do. One of the biggest challenges that we face with manure is if somebody passes out from those manure gases, we don't want somebody rushing in to save them, because unfortunately what happens is the person who goes in to save them will also pass out. And now we have multiple people who've passed out.
Just a quick reminder for folks that are working with manure management, think safety first from Marguerite Tan, Director of Environmental Programs at the National Pork Board. Markets are next.
Farming has no set hours, no weekends off. The work can feel endless, but wrapping up that last acre makes it all worth it. At Rank Seed, we get it. We know the pain and joy of farming because our family's been doing it since 1846. Our seed will work as hard as you do. We think you'll crack a smile when the combine rolls. Rank Seed. Results since 1846.
As the weather changes, it can start to impact feed quality. Don't let your cows become the victims of the ration roller coaster. Adding Generator Elite to your herd's ration can introduce beneficial microbials that support gut health and help the herd navigate the highs and lows of feed quality, all while using less than an ounce per day per cow. Learn more about Generator Elite at bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
On Tuesday, the barrel cheese in Chicago dropped 2 1/4 cents to 167 1/2. 40-pound block cheese down 2 3/4 cents, 163 1/4. Double A butter dropped a penny to $1.50 a pound. This morning in Chicago, the December Class 3 milk that goes into cheese trading 8 cents lower at $16.84. Right now, December corn's unchanged at $4.32. March unchanged at $4.47. January soybeans are up 7 cents at $11.34. July wheat right now down a penny and a half, $5.71 a bushel. There's a quick snapshot on what's happening in the markets. More food news anytime you need. MidwestFarmReport.com. I'm Pam Yankee.
Thanks, Pam.
Over the air and on the web.
Just noticing how Pam says
is your home
Chicago.
for real news
Chicago.
and great
I love that.
conversation for Madison.
I'm wondering if she's from that area originally. Chicago.
I didn't even catch that.
I didn't until today. I've listened to her a million times. I'm just like, Chicago. Love it.
I'm going to have to listen for that.
Gusting to 25 to 30 today. Tonight, partly cloudy. We'll drop into the mid to upper 20s tomorrow. Sunshine, high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp now 37.
Black Friday? You mean like one day? How about Black Friday all month long at Verlo? During the entire month of November, you can save hundreds on mattresses and adjustable bases. Plus, save big on pillows, mattress protectors, and sheets. And just because you're saving big, we don't skimp on our lifetime comfort guarantee on every mattress that's made locally just for you. Mattress prices are falling a lot, and so is Maddie. It's the Black Friday event, only at Verlo.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and
It's time once again for today's history lesson on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
It's one small step for man.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
You know, this depression is going to be so great. We'll be the ones eating the cats and the dogs. That's going to be fun.
Once again, it is time to take another revealing peek back into history.
We'll start this history lesson in 1984. Yes, this would be the Material Girl herself, who we did not call the Material Girl right away, but we would shortly thereafter, because it was on this day in 1984 that Madonna released her second studio album, Like a Virgin, and it would become her first #1 on the album chart. It was produced by Nile Rodgers, and along with the title track came the singles Dress You Up, Get Into the Groove, and Material Girl, moniker that stuck to this day. Also, and I got a couple of notes here from 1966, coincidentally. First off, on this day, I'm sure you've heard the Buffalo Springfield hit For What It's Worth. And didn't you always think it was about Vietnam War protesters? Give a little listen to Buffalo Springfield here. I mean, it makes sense. It is the classic protest song of its era, right?
There's something happening here.
Well, it wasn't quite a Vietnam War protest. It was on this day in 1966 that teenagers in LA on the Sunset Strip were protesting a curfew, and they were getting beat up by police. And it inspired Stephen Stills to write the hit for Buffalo Springfield, For What It's Worth. So a protest song, but just not exactly the kind of protest that inspired the song. On that same day in 1966, the #1 song was by Johnny Rivers.
Welcome back, baby, to the post side of town. To him, you were nothing.
Also on the same day, 1966, astronaut Buzz Aldrin. Now, he wouldn't walk on the moon for another 3 years. This was part of the Gemini program. Buzz Aldrin took the first space selfie, a photo of himself on a spacewalk outside of his Gemini 12 capsule. By the way, Buzz Aldrin is now 95 years old. Still with us, would walk on the moon less than 3 years later. Now we're going to run way up to 1983 now, when Lionel Richie hit the very top of the Billboard Hot 100. Now here, after, 42 years, I learned while putting together today's segment that there's that whole bridge part that, sounds like it's in Swahili or something like that.
Sure.
I didn't realize Lionel Richie did fess up pretty early on. He made it up. It's all gibberish. He said he wanted it to be authentic African lyrics, but
Sure.
he was under a lot of pressure to finish the record. And so they just they kind of made things up instead. The song still went to the top of the chart. It's okay. It's okay.
I know. I hate when you do that.
I know. I'm sorry to show you behind the curtain there. You heard Al Michaels just there in the intro saying, "Do you believe in miracles?" That was 45 years ago. Which do the math? What was he, 30 or something? Whatever. Today is Al Michaels' 81st birthday. 81 years old. And Al Michaels is still calling games. He calls the Thursday night ones there on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You were not nearly as impressed.
Well, I just didn't have him as that old. I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah. Well, he's making good money. He can take pretty good care of himself, and he started as one of the youngest play-by-play guys. I want to say for the Cincinnati Reds, but he's been at this for a very long time, and at a very young age was thrust into roles on network TV, and including, of course, what you hear there, the Miracle on Ice game from the 1980 Olympics in Lake Placid, when the U.S. hockey team upset the heavily favored Soviet Union. Neil Young is 80 years old today. Anne Hathaway is 43. On this day in 1988, a little history was made with Kylie Minogue doing a remake of a classic hit first done in 1962. So Kylie Minogue went to number 3 on the charts with that song, but it then meant that song, The Locomotion, became a hit near the top of the charts in 3 different versions. First time that had happened. Little Eva did the first version in 1962, and then my own favorite is Grand Funk Railroad did their cover in 1974. So that was number 3 from Kylie Minogue this day in 1988. Who was number 1? That would be a group called the Escape Club. I get a kick out of it now. We're so many years past the turn of the millennium, but you heard there the lyrics, heading for the 90s, and you had Prince doing 1999, and there was all this anticipation, like we're coming to the end of the 20th century. It's going to be a new millennium, and now I kind of wish I could go back and go, guys, it was no big deal. We just, things just kind of kept happening.
Age is just a number.
Yeah, let me tell you about some of the stuff that's going to play out in the 21st century. And they're going to be like, Donald Trump, what? Jesse Ventura, what?
The Apprentice guy?
Huh? The Apprentice, what? Yeah. Anyway, on this day in 2004, Gwen Stefani, who had been with her band No Doubt since 1986, finally released her first solo album, Love Angel Music Baby.
I know we're cool.
Cool, and Holla Back Girl, which I'm gonna try to play that on the radio for you. Did you?
Holla Back Girl.
Yeah, can't do that.
There was in high school, Pat, in my world history class, there was a parody of that song, about the Black Death.
About the plague?
Yes. And I forget exactly how it goes, but it has something about fleas on rats in there. Yeah.
That's great.
It was a thing.
It was a thing. All right. I'm glad we picked the song that we did then from Gwen Stefani.
Me too.
We're releasing that solo album this day in 2004. On this day in 2019, Disney Plus launched. One of its first big hits also debuted, the Star Wars franchise series, The Mandalorian. You watch that?
Great show.
You do? Okay. I've never seen an episode, and I like the Star Wars movies. I've seen the movies, but I don't think I've watched any of the TV show spin-offs, prequels, sequels, anything like that.
Okay, I would.
What's the other one? The big one from like last year? Is it Andor?
Andor. I strongly encourage you to watch that, Pat.
Okay.
Especially season 2, because it is quite reflective, I think, of the times we are in now.
I have heard that, people talking about the commentary that it makes. So, all right, it's on my winter watch list. We're not going to be outside quite so often.
I was thinking about rewatching it the other day, so
yeah,
maybe we
look at that. Now I'm the one getting yelled at by Tony on YouTube in the comment section. You've never seen it, Pat? No,
ha!
I have not.
Not
so
me.
There. One against me. That was, and Tony's adamant. He's like, you need to watch them both this weekend. Okay, maybe I will. We'll see. Let's see. That was 2019. On this day in 2020, the Sony PlayStation 5 was released. Near as I can tell, that's still the one that is being sold and used today, right? The PS5. Look at that. I almost know what's going on with the kids and their video games, he said over here playing Pong. All right, one more birthday to share with you. Booker T. Jones of Booker T. and the MGs turns 81 years old today. Here's his 1962 hit, Green Onions. Heard this behind something in movies or TV or whatever, no doubt. It's one of those instrumentals that's just, it feels like it's eternal.
I feel like I'm going to go play baseball.
And so that gives me the opportunity, while that plays in the background, to tell you that on this day in 1970 was the famous Oregon whale incident. On this day in 1970, a sperm whale had beached itself and was rotting on the shore.
Oh.
This happens every so often.
I know it.
Well, in this case, somebody got the bright idea to blow it up. And then once you do that, you know, a bunch of birds would come and eat up all the scraps. Things went awry. There was an explosives expert who happened to be in the area, not part of the crew, but who said to them, 20 sticks of dynamite should be able to get the job done. The engineer on the job went with 20 cases of dynamite.
Oh.
A local, if you've never seen the footage, just all you got to do is Oregon whale, and it'll be there. A local TV reporter narrated the footage that showed, in his words, how the blast blasted blubber beyond all believable bounds. Chunks of whale rained from the skies, denting some cars and leaving a stench that lingered for days. And because the noise was so loud, it scared all the birds away. Birds never returned to start devouring the whale stuff. They ended up having to bury it anyway. This day, 55 years ago.
Okay, I am currently.
Oh, are you looking it up? Oh,
I'm
my
looking
goodness.
it up. This
boy.
is quite the report we've got here.
I believe
I've got to skip it. That's a lot of dynamite.
that is a lot of dynamite.
All right,
Yes.
here we go. 3,
Mhm.
2,
Okay.
1. Oh, jeez. It's like a landmine went off.
It's like much more than a landmine. Again, 20 cases of dynamite to blow up a whale.
Oh, God.
Did not work out so well.
Oh,
for
it's
them.
raining down.
It's raining. And the chunks of sperm whale are coming down, and the people are running. And the humanity. What if it was a manatee? That would have been easier. Anyway,
God.
what's on the National Day calendar for today?
Pat, it is National Happy Hour Day, which in my best guess means that it's happy hour all day.
Yeah, so it's happy day. Have a happy hour all day. Did you, especially in college, have like a favorite happy hour special, or maybe you do now? I mean, not everybody does, but I do. So I thought I'd ask if you did.
I'm a big Captain and Coke kind of guy.
Okay. So anybody with a happy hour special on Captain and Coke?
Not that I know of.
For ours, as college students in Eau Claire, and again, this is 1985 now, so we're going back a ways. God, 40 years. Ooh. But Chi-Chi's was the big, Mexican restaurant chain, and they had just opened up in Eau Claire. And I later would get a job there waiting tables. But I loved going there for happy hour because to attract business, not just specials on margaritas and things, but they had basically an all-you-could-eat nacho bar.
Oh.
And so you'd load up on tortilla chips, and then not just salsa, but there was a lot of rice, a lot of beans. I think there was like chicken or ground beef that went. So one day a week, Sherry and I ate like kings because we had no money at that point in our college career until I started waiting tables to pay off the drinks that I was buying during happy hour. So. Good morning, everybody. Enjoy that happy hour. Luke Mathers is asking on the text line, does the Nitty's 10 p.m. power hour count? I believe it does. Happy hour can be any time of day.
Well, in Whitewater, to bring in a lot of business, they do all you can drink for like $12.
Ooh. Yeah, in college we had a place that had 10-cent taps. You're not going to get that anymore, but
No.
you can do a lot of damage with $1.
Yes, you can.
We will have Ellie Bordeaux, our newsletter editor at Up North News, coming up after the news. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Okay, that got a lot quieter than I thought it would. Fine. Man, what an explosion.
Yep.
I watched Mythbusters. I've seen a lot of explosions. That's a weird one.
4077 is their number. They offer fast and flexible appointments. Talk to Jim or Sarah. They're helping people change their lives with better hearing. Get a free hearing test online at MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. That's MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison. Tell them John and Gordy sent you.
Looking to grow a career? David J. Frank Landscaping is hiring. Enjoy competitive wages, opportunities for professional growth, and a supportive team environment. No experience necessary. Yes, David J. Frank provides paid training. Enjoy the benefits of working at one of the top green industry companies in the country. If you're just looking to make some money on the side, David J. Frank is also hiring for snow removal. Call 608-283-9276 or visit davidjfrank.com/jobs and see if this is the team for you.
Hey, honey, how was your day?
Yours?
Pretty good. Guess what? The boss asked me to find a place for the holiday party this year.
Oh, I know a place that'd be just...
Yes, right here. We think so alike.
No,
we can
wait,
put some
wait.
effects.
No, not
what?
our house. Sugar River Pizza.
You
you already told them they could be here, didn't you?
Yeah,
I'm
well-
sure you thought catering from Sugar River would be just fine.
Sure.
Yeah, but you've seen that huge room in the back of the Sugar River Pizza at their Sun Prairie location.
Yes.
It's ideal for a holiday party.
Well, yes.
Fabulous pizza, that pulled pork you love, pasta, soup, sandwiches.
Yeah.
Anyone can get exactly what they want.
And it's better than your meatloaf. Well,
Wait,
let me
wait,
call
what-
them.
what'd you just say? You said you like my meatloaf.
I did. No, Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie. That is a great idea. You're brilliant. Thanks, hon.
Plan your next office or holiday party with Sugar River Pizza in Sun Prairie. Get to sugarriverpizza.com/catering to book today.
What exactly is wrong with my meatloaf?
I like it. Most of the time,
Wait,
it's pretty good.
most of the time?
Well,
Pretty
yeah,
good?
Kind of, yeah.
Today's job market is full of demand for skilled trade workers. Electricians, welders, mechanics, these and other trades are the backbone of every community. They're also a huge part in making sure the Army National Guard is always fulfilling its mission of service to our country and communities. Soldiers train to keep the power flowing, engines running, and supplies moving. The skilled trades these soldiers perform are the same ones needed in today's civilian workforce. Army National Guard soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. With options from plumber to helicopter mechanic and everything in between, soldiers are able to select the trades that best fit their lives. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service.
Hey, Civic Media has a daily newsletter that you should be checking out. For links to show highlights and much more, sign up at civicmediatoday.substack.com. All right, where were we? We were doing the National Day calendar here with Parker Olson. Then we'll do a little entertainment news as well. We'd hit National Happy Hour Day. What else are we celebrating on this Wednesday, November 12th?
Well, Pat, this might be the weirdest one that I think that I've presented to you. Fancy Rat and Mouse Day.
Fancy Rat and Mouse Day.
Fancy Rat and Mouse Day. It appreciates, I should say, domesticated rats and mice as pets.
I feel like you should be playing the Michael Jackson song Ben in the background here. A song
I
about a
forgot
rat.
that's about a mouse.
Yeah, a rat, even. So, so congrats to all of you who have fancy rats and mice. This is your day to shine.
They have positive traits, Pat. This is the purpose of this day, is to acknowledge that they have positive traits.
Of course they do. Okay. What else we got? We got anything food related besides me loading up the happy hour nacho bar?
Well, after you load up with the happy hour, you can load up with pizza with the works, except for the anchovies.
So it's
That's
pizza
the
with
day.
the works day, but they purposefully exclude anchovies.
Yeah. Not a fan of fish on the pizza, I suppose.
If you're going to get pizza with the works, I mean, the works means the works, right? You know.
Well,
Now,
it depends on whose works.
I guess. You see, now I am very, very I love a good pepperoni, a good sausage. But if you can get me pepperoni, sausage, and mushroom, that for me is the best, and that's all I need. You know, and I get other people like other things. I for one, if I'm getting a Caesar salad and they have anchovies, I love them on there. I think anchovies are great on a Caesar salad. I would not put them on a pizza. There's just, you know how there are some foods that taste better on some things, but you wouldn't have them on other things. Like I love diced onions on hamburgers and hot dogs. Not a fan of onions on pizza. You know, there's just different. Anchovies are kind of in that same vein.
Yeah.
One of the nicest things when you go, when did you know you were going to marry the right person? Well, Sherry knew early on I'm a rather picky eater, or can be. I've gotten a lot better, but I was really picky when she met me in college. And, you know, she loves pizza with the works. So we learned early on that in that case, she'd get what I would always jokingly call her garbage pizza, because they just threw everything on there. And I'd just get my simple little pepperoni, sausage, mushroom. But hey, if it works for you, for your pizza without the anchovies, then this is your day. I hope some places are having specials today on that. Ask your local pizza joint if they'll do something today for pizza with the works.
Do they
day.
know that it's pizza with the works day, except for anchovies?
I don't know, but we've told them now, so they've got till lunchtime to adjust their menus accordingly.
This is a good point.
All right, what is in the entertainment world today?
Entertaining news, Pat. Sabrina Carpenter is going to both star and produce in a new movie that is going to be based on Alice in Wonderland. It's her first major studio movie. We don't know much about the movie. It doesn't have a release date or really plot details yet. But we know
the plot should be pretty.
Well,
it's like Wicked. I mean,
it could just be like around it. Yeah.
Okay, where the Wizard of Oz is kind of there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
By the way, when does that open? The part 2 of Wicked. That should be.
It should be
anytime
pretty
now, right?
soon, I would have thought.
Yeah. And is this one 4 hours long? I mean, the last one was what, 3.5, something like that. I hope they tie a bow on this thing a little quicker than they did with part 1. That was the other thing. When you got done with it, it's like, wait, that was part 1? There's more?
It releases on the 21st of this month, so just a little over a week.
Okay.
And it is a 2-hour, 17-minute runtime for Wicked.
Ooh, they've cut it down. Okay, good job. Okay, I can handle that. So Sabrina Carpenter is Allison. That would make sense, I guess. You know, kind of played a type on that one. All right. What did you see Jimmy Kimmel's last night, or at least his monologue? I mean, Jimmy Kimmel is not shy about tearing up, and obviously did at the loss of his band leader and his childhood friend, Cleto Escobedo, saxophonist that he's known since like the age of 9, something like that.
Yeah, they grew up across the street from each other. They were really good friends.
Yeah, he noted that that he had been treated recently at the UCLA Medical Center in Los Angeles, but an exact cause of death wasn't said. But they when you see something like that, you really see the depth of friendship in show business. Mm-hmm. It's really very telling, and it was really something. Jimmy Kimmel didn't have to come out there and tearfully eulogize his friend and band leader, but did, and it's one of those things that fans of his show really likes. That this is he's one of the most human people on TV today.
Absolutely.
You know what you get with him, and what exactly he thinks, and he's funny naturally, and he's emotional naturally, as the case may be. All right. Any other entertaining things to pass along?
We have Antonio Brown. If you remember him from being a football player, a wide receiver, most notably with the Steelers. After running off the field after taking his pads off during a game once, he's kind of gone off the rails. He is currently facing trial for an alleged shooting, which he says he was acting in self-defense. He's pleading not guilty after, I believe, he was in the UAE, I think, for a while and then got extradited back. Very weird situation there.
So between that and who is the football analyst who just got fired, who was stabbed? He was in an altercation.
Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez recently. And then you had the member of the Dallas Cowboys who recently lost his life to suicide. And, football has done a pretty good job in trying to improve safety. You see those big oversized helmets that they wear now that kind of make you look like a character in Mario Brothers or something, one of the mushroom people or something.
Like Toad,
But hey, if it's safer, that's fine. But I feel like there's still a ways to go to understanding, CTE and other things like that. And Antonio Brown has had a checkered run since running off the football field there. So more legal troubles for him. All right, coming up after the news, as I mentioned, Ellie Bordeaux will be here to talk about the newsletters she puts together for Up North News, and Bryn Horton from the Wisconsin Public Education Network. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. The House is set to vote this evening on the government funding package that 8 Democratic senators, including Pennsylvania's John Fetterman, voted for to end the government shutdown.
That was a difficult vote for all 8 of us. I don't think any of us took any pleasure in voting against the majority of our other colleagues, but we happen to believe it's the right thing. And I happen to know there were plenty of other Democrats that voted no, but they knew that it was the right thing to do.
The bill does not include government subsidies to help millions of Americans pay for their health care, which is what Democrats had been fighting for all along. A solar storm helped millions of people from the California through the Dakotas down to Florida see the northern lights overnight. The first major cold spell of the season, plunging parts of the southeast into record low temperatures. And John F. Kennedy's grandson, Jack Schlossberg, is planning to run for Congress, says he'll seek the seat of the retiring Jerry Nadler in New York. This is ABC News.
News, weather, and sports for Madison right here on WMDX. Streaming 24/7 online at WMDXradio.com. For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson. 20 Wisconsin school districts are waiting for funding from the federal government. Joanne Krulatz reports.
Governor Tony Evers sent a letter to U.S. Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon demanding that she immediately release federal impact aid payments for 20 school districts across Wisconsin. Schools were supposed to receive the first round of payments in October for federal school funding known as impact aid, which is used by schools for basic operations such as payroll, transportation, programs, and new positions, among other critical areas. Federal impact aid is one of the most flexible sources of funding, enabling school districts to hire and pay teachers, purchase instructional materials, and support student transportation needs. 20 school districts located across Wisconsin, from Bayfield to Seymour to Black River Falls, received impact aid payments in 2025, totaling over $23 million. Most, but not all, eligible schools are operated by federally recognized tribal nations located in Wisconsin.
You might hear jets overhead throughout the next week. The 115th Fighter Wing will be doing training exercises starting today. Much of it will be during the daytime, but they're required to do nighttime training too. You might hear the flights until about 8 o'clock at night. That training begins today, continues tomorrow, will stop for Friday, and then starts up again all next week from Monday through Friday. The F-35 jets have been controversial to Madisonians because they can be so loud. Meanwhile, a group of Wisconsin veterans got a special thank you over the weekend. About 70 of them were on a Badger Honor flight to Washington, D.C. And when they landed in the nation's capital, they heard the voice of former President Barack Obama, who boarded the plane to thank each one of them for their service. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Murph does it again. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports, baseball. The Brewers' Pat Murphy named National League Manager of the Year for a second year in a row.
Well, I think it's a statement for the Milwaukee Brewers, from ownership to the ivory tower to our coaching staff. It's an organizational award, and I'm very pleased to be part of this organization.
He's only the fourth manager to ever win in back-to-back seasons. Bucks basketball tonight. They're in Charlotte to take on the Hornets. College hoops, Wisconsin with a win over Ball State, 86-55. NFL, the Packers back at work after losing to the Eagles. Center Elton Jenkins now on injured reserve after suffering a fractured fibula Monday night. Last week, it was Tucker Kraft and the ACL. Could these injuries become an issue?
We're not going to let it. I think the frustration is just that we haven't figured it out yet. We definitely come into every game with the confidence. We just got to find a way to execute as well.
That's Packers wide receiver Christian Watson with Sports on Mike Clemens.
Parallel parking in Madison? Impossible.
All right. How's Ellie today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. What'd you do with your day off?
Just kind of hung out. I'm dog sitting for my boyfriend's family right now, so I
Oh.
walked the dog for a while, just kind of hung out. It was good.
All right. What kind of dog?
He is a doodle mix of sorts.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Got the notes here. Anything else you want to throw in, or are we good to go?
No, I think we're good.
All right. We're gonna start with a little food and cooking here first.
Sweet.
With Parker before we fold you in, and we'll get going in about just over a minute.
Cool.
Well, tonight.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
We have Emerson Lehman in the studio. I don't get excited about gardening. My wife will say, "Oh, it's going to be gorgeous this weekend. We should work in the yard." I'm like, why would we penalize ourselves for having beautiful weather by going outside?
My dad, I went home to visit one summer. My dad's out moving rocks. Yeah, I'm not moving rocks for fun. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dad.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you,
20 seconds until we're back.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Thank you, Don Rue. Told you he was still in the rotation here. Hey, good morning, 7:06. Nice to have you back up north here on a Wednesday morning, November 12th. Parker Olson producing things down in Madison Studio A2. Ellie Bordeaux standing by. Our newsletter editor at Up North News. Sign up at upnorthnewswi.com. And then in our next hour, we're going to be talking to Greg Gunderson with our Civic Media station up in Park Falls. The gun deer season opens up this weekend. And the Deer Hunters Roundup has been a staple of programming up at that radio station for more than 50 years now, of hunters calling in throughout the season and sharing stories and making each other laugh and talking and giving each other tips. And so that's all coming up in our next hour. If you can't stick around, you should follow the show as a podcast. Head over to Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us along, either live here or listen on demand when the spirit moves you. Parker, I was getting creamer out for the coffee and taking a look at lunch because, well, my breakfast a little earlier than most people, so is lunch. And last night's creation was chicken pot pie soup. So it's not quite chicken pot pie because that's kind of more like a gravy filling, but this is more of a kind of a creamy soup with all the chicken pot pie ingredients. And everybody knows I'm in a cult, the cult of Instapot. But you can make it in a crock pot as well. But I love that pressure cooker. And then you take you can either get puff pastries, or you can I go the easy way, get the Pillsbury biscuits that kind of come off in like layers. Then you put those layers along the top to kind of emulate a chicken pot pie.
Yeah,
that's good eating right there, kids.
I mess with that.
I know. We always do this to folks. They're busy having breakfast, and I'm already talking about lunch over here. But that is the life of an early riser.
Yeah. What time do you eat lunch, Pat?
If I could, 9:01, but most of the time a little after 10.
Okay. I'm usually around like 10:30, 10:45.
Yeah. I mean, it checks out. That's just the way things roll here. So, all right, let's check in now with the pride of Oconomowoc, Ellie Bordeaux, newsletter editor at Up North News. Ellie, any kitchen creations you've made lately that you want to share?
I made some nachos on Monday for the Packer game.
Yes. All you can eat nachos, Pat.
Yes.
That's right.
But I can't say I've ever had chicken pot pie soup.
I'd
nor
never
does it
heard of it.
necessarily. Is
Yeah.
that something
Not
I
tripping
want to
your
try? No offense to you, Pat.
No,
But
no. I'd never heard of it until last weekend when we were at a family function, and somebody brought that along, and we tried it, and we're like, "This is really good. I'm gonna try to make this." And yeah, it was kind of surprising. So
Fair enough.
there's our new thing there. We're always talking about food here, and Ellie jumps in on the act as well as anybody. We're going to cover two different foods here, and what do we call it? Our locals love on Fridays.
Yes, our locals love section at the newsletter on Fridays. So this past week, we looked at cheese curds, which
Yes.
we know can be quite the discussion in Wisconsin. And this isn't going to be the only time we talk about cheese curds in my newsletter for sure. There will be more. But
Okay.
for now, we had some people write in. One of the most interesting to me was the Quick Trip in Turtle Lake. Someone was felt very strongly about those cheese curds. They said, strangely enough, the Quick Trip in Turtle Lake has exceptional cheese curds. The seasoning and the breading is perfectly balanced, as is the ratio of curd to coating, which I think is very important.
I like the breakdown. I like the breakdown of that.
Right.
I don't know all the options in Turtle Lake for cheese curds, and so there might be some other places going, hey, what about us?
Right.
Who knows what they're making at the casino there? But at least you know if you go by the Quick Trip, you got an option, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Quick Trip is a great option. Who knows?
Did all the answers change your thinking at all as far as whether you prefer to get yours fresh and squeaky or deep fried?
I would say I can't make a decision on that right now.
You
I
don't
love them
have
both,
to. Yeah, you can
honestly.
love them both. It's
I kind of
as the kids
prefer-
say, 6-7. Did I do that right?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Actually, nobody knows if you did it right. Although I think I made Parker throw up a little bit over there. So
I did not
he
get that from you.
loves when I skew so young and hip. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we should move on from cheese curds. What are you looking ahead to? What are we all going to fight about this Friday?
This Friday, we are looking at ice cream shops. So even though the weather is cooling down and it's getting cold, I personally don't think there's ever a bad time for ice cream. I
There
have
is
ice
not.
cream almost every night after dinner. It's like my favorite sweet treat. Go to Culver's, do all that. So I want to hear about all the best ice cream shops. I think it's very important, especially in the dairy state. Ice cream is still important too. Cheese curds is our thing, but ice cream is still important. So that's what we're looking at. I've already gotten so many responses. People are also very passionate about this for sure. So keep sending them in. I would love to feature them. Send photos, all that.
We did give a little tease of it. Was it yesterday, Parker? You're talking about your love for the Turtle Sunday.
Yeah, it was
And,
National Sunday Day.
Oh, that's right. It was Sunday, National Sunday Day on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And yeah, people big fans of the turtle. I said mine was, hot fudge and bananas. I don't get a lot of Sundays, to be honest, because I blame Dairy Queen for this. Ever since they invented the Blizzard, and you can throw like 3 pounds of candy into an ice cream treat, it kind of takes away the magic of the Sunday. But again, your favorite ice cream shop might be, your local Dairy Queen or Culver's or something like that. But if you've got something local, like in Chippewa Falls here, we have Olson's ice cream that a lot of folks swear by. We had people yesterday cast votes for the chocolate shop in Madison. And so, yes, I'm sure you're seeing a good amount of nominations already, and you want more people to, give a shout out to what's in their hometown.
Yes, absolutely. When that came out on Friday, when I announced what we're going to be looking at next week, I already got so many responses, like all the way down. So I'm excited to feature them. Again, this is a little bit selfish for me because whenever I go around, I could be like, oh, where do I want to get ice cream today? You know what I mean? So
No, there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, are we limiting it to ice cream shops, or do people who have their favorite frozen custard place, they can lump this in? Yes? No?
I would say you can lump it in. I think Well,
I think you
I
can
don't
lump
know.
it in under the umbrella of ice cream shops, but then you also have to break it out. And we have done that here in the past where it's like,
Right.
where do you go for frozen custard? Which on the western side of the state, people go, what? But on the eastern
Right.
side of the state, they're like, oh, I love this place. You know, Cops or this or that. They all have
Right.
their favorite. Actually, talk to Sharita Booker has a favorite frozen custard place in Milwaukee. I'll have to ask her about that again tomorrow and figure out
Yeah.
what that is. So we'll get to that as well. So
Yeah,
ice cream
yeah.
shops.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that works. And let's see. Also in the newsletter, I noticed today the latest in our civic check-in. Tell folks about that series.
Yeah, so our civic check-in is every Wednesday. We take a look at different topics or terms or things to define about civics, and we want to keep people civically engaged, let people know what's going on in our political climate, those kinds of things, and just inform people on different terms that they might not have heard since high school. So today we took a look at understanding the early shifts of, or the early signs of an authoritarian shifts, the things that you can look for. So politicizing independent institutions and spreading false or misleading information while discrediting reputable news sources, things like that. So we kind of take a look at the different things to look out for an authoritarian shift.
Well, and by the way, when you talk about putting out, misinformation, part of it is about, the accusations that an authoritarian government would make about others. I can't tell you how many times that people who have progressive positions have been labeled as socialists or communists or both without any respect for the distinction between the two.
Right.
And so that way, when they are more correctly called authoritarian or fascist or whatever, they can say, oh, you're just name calling. Well, just name calling is when you're doing it without any regard for the label. If you actually know what the label stands for and you're applying it, then it tends to work. But to do that, you got to know the definitions. And that's why I'm glad you're putting this series together.
Yeah, right. I think it's super important that people understand, because these terms, like you said, can kind of just get thrown around and people don't really know the real definition of them. And so I think it's really important to have this section to let people know, what do these things mean? Where can you place them, and how can you kind of see them fit into today's life? So
we're talking to Ellie Bordeaux, newsletter editor here at Up North News. And as you note in the newsletter, the consistent aim of any authoritarian shift is to make people feel disconnected from the process, convincing them their voices no longer matter. Because then things go in one of two different directions. Either they just stop voting, which allows others who support the authoritarian to show up and win elections, or they become so discouraged by the system that they embrace people who they think will be, radically different and new. We've got to blow up the whole system. And, a lot of people think they see that in Donald Trump and then come to realize, he's not here to blow up the system. He's here to enrich himself from the system. But it really is, it comes back to that whole notion of civic engagement is, we don't want people to feel like their voice doesn't matter. We don't want people to feel like, oh, why should I even vote? Nobody in government cares about me. They actually do. We just have to talk about that more than just the cynicism that's out there about politics.
right. Yeah, exactly. And that's another reason why we want this section in our newsletter, is because our whole mission is to make sure that people are civically engaged, those kinds of things, like you said. And so I think just having this section in the newsletter just kind of supports that a little bit, of letting people know what these things mean, going out and understanding those things, informing others, having discussions with others, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's really important to include this stuff.
We're talking to Ellie Bordeaux, newsletter editor here at Up North News. And one more story to talk about, and that is Native American Heritage Month. And you have a story about it and how people can mark it. There's a story on our website about it as well. Tell us more.
Yeah, so November is National Native American Heritage Month. It was designated by President George W. Bush in 1990. And the month celebrates and honors the history, culture, and contributions of Indigenous peoples around the nation. And in Wisconsin, there are 11 federally recognized Native tribes. And according to the World Population Review, 2.14% of America's population identifies as American Indian or Alaska Native. And in Wisconsin, 1.78% of the state's population identify as such. So in this article, we have different ways that you can support Indigenous peoples in Wisconsin or help celebrate Native American Heritage Month. So we have stuff all over the state. We've got some in Milwaukee, we've got some in Madison, we've got some in Chippewa Falls, we've got all sorts of stuff, all sorts of activities. So it's really great, and definitely check it out.
Yeah, there's everything from, again, performances and powwows to art shows and markets, learning about language and culture. There's even the astronomy of Native America. These are all spelled out in Ellie's story that you can find at upnorthnewswi.com. You can find a link for that in today's newsletter as well for all that she does today and every day. Again, get yourself signed up at upnorthnewswi.com. Ellie Bordeaux, thank you so much as always. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
All right. When we, let's take a look at the sports here quick before we pause, and then I'll tell you what's coming up later on this hour. Pat Murphy named Manager of the Year for the second year in a row. So again, nice to have him recognized for what he's done with the Milwaukee Brewers, essentially having the managerial role thrust on him when Craig Counsell turned tail and ran to the Chicago Cubs, and he certainly made the most of it. Stephen Vogt, the former Brewers catcher, who is now manager of the Cleveland Guardians, he too has now won back-to-back Manager of the Year awards over in the American League. And let's see, we also have in sports, the Milwaukee Bucks are playing tonight at Charlotte, and then they're back home Friday night to play Charlotte in the NBA Cup. Parker, where's your cheer? There we go. Boy, we're really selling that NBA Cup. The Bucks are going to play Charlotte. That's all you need to know. Brent Horton from the Wisconsin Public Education Network is coming up in 15 minutes. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. All righty. There we go. Thanks, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Yep. See you later.
See ya.
Your comfort changes, so your foundation should be adjustable. Prepare for the best sleep you've ever had. For the biggest dreams, it's got to be Verlo.
There's nothing like the perfect bra fitting. And at Allure Intimate Apparel, that's exactly what they deliver. Their expert bra fit specialists offer one-on-one bra fittings in a graceful, no-pressure environment that celebrates every silhouette. Allure is here for real life, where confidence always comes first. Experience a new standard of personal attention with timeless style and bra fittings that flatter at every angle. Visit their new location at the Hilldale Shopping Center in Madison, or visit allurefits.com. That's allurefits.com.
Do half the residents in one rural Wisconsin county receive food stamps? Yes. About 46% of Menominee County's 4,300 residents received SNAP food aid in April, among the highest rates in the state. In March 2024, the percentage was 51%. The county is home to the Menominee Tribal Nation, and nearly 80% of residents are American Indian. SNAP is the federal food program for low-income people, formerly known as food stamps. The program cost $100 billion in 2024, or 1.5% of the federal budget. President Donald Trump's big bill is projected to remove 3.2 million people from SNAP. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact Briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Learn more at wisconsinwatch.org.
This portion of John and Gordy in the Morning is brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center. If you're having trouble with your hearing, do something about it. Talk with the good folks at Madison Hearing Aid Center. They're at 4706 Cottage Grove Road. Call them and make an appointment
See, we're getting a good morning here from Robin Tigerton. Sunny and 36 degrees. Says he has a doctor's appointment in Shawano today. Also going to the library to pick up more information on Highway 29 for his scrapbook on the history of that road that stretches all across northern Wisconsin there. So, Rob, thank you again for the check-in as always. Let's see. In state news here, we have a new proposal on how to handle elections from Republican candidate for governor, Josh Schoeman. Josh Schoeman is the Washington County executive, and he was one of the first Republicans to get into the governor's race. Since that time, Tom Tiffany has gotten into the race as well. Donald Trump hasn't made an endorsement yet, so technically there is still a Republican primary to be had. If Trump doesn't make an endorsement, voters will get to make that choice in August of next year. But if Donald Trump endorses either Josh Schoeman or Tom Tiffany, well, then what's the sense of even voting? Because that seems to be the thing that determines who gets on the Republican ballot. But anyway, Josh Schoeman is trying to, again, stay out there ahead of Tom Tiffany, and in this case is proposing ways that you could overhaul the elections. One idea would be helpful. A lot of the others, not so much. And I'm getting a lot of this out of a story by Molly Beck in this morning's Journal Sentinel, which you should subscribe to and check out. Molly Beck's lead says that Schoeman is proposing to address how ballots are collected and counted by eliminating absentee ballot drop boxes. Here we go again. And barring municipalities from using one place to count absentee ballots at all voting locations, something known as a central count facility, which again is something that's not necessary, but it allows him as the Washington County executive to reinforce that whole Milwaukee is a big bad city narrative that Republicans love to do. Now, the one good idea that he's proposing is to give local clerks the ability to start processing ballots the day before Election Day. Now, again, not counting the ballots. It means taking the absentee ballots that have come in and checking the envelope that they came in to make sure that there's a signature, that it's a qualified elector, that they've got the address and all of that. And that way you can open up the ballot, you can put it in, the place where it's going to be counted later. And then on Election Day, you can start running them through the counting machines. But right now, Wisconsin's one of the few states that doesn't allow that. And so you've got to do all that work first as everybody else is voting. And that's part of the reason that you get so many votes late at night in cities like Milwaukee and elsewhere. And then he also wants to take away central count because, again, the whole notion of moving the ballots to one place and counting the ballots more efficiently rather than having to buy more machines to push all over the cities, well, that enables you to, again, create and perpetuate this false narrative that says there must be something sinister if they're using a central count facility, when no, that actually makes elections more efficient and therefore more accurate. But, it is what we've gotten used to hearing from Republicans, and Josh Schoeman's certainly no different here. He talks about eliminating the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Again, another one, something you hear about from Republicans all the time. He says he would shift the duties to an elected official, and that elected official would essentially get all of the power. Who wants a politician essentially being in charge of our elections? It's really no different than how Republicans right now have taken all the power away from the Secretary of State's office. But believe me, if Republicans hold the majority in the legislature and then win back the Secretary of State's seat, you can bet your bottom dollar they're right away going to abolish the State Elections Commission and give all the power to that Republican Secretary of State to determine if ballots count or not. Remember, we live in a state where somebody like Tom Tiffany, a former legislator and a member of Congress, proposed throwing out all of your ballots that you cast in 2000 because Donald Trump wanted him to. And that, Ron Johnson also said that the legislature could essentially just make up their own rules and determine who wins elections. Who believes that should be a good idea? When there's a better idea out there already. We have the Wisconsin Elections Commission. It's made up of 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. In other words, it was created by Republicans to fail, to lock up. And there are times when it does lock up through partisan differences, but there's other times where it actually works quite well. But there was a better way. And that was the old Government Accountability Board, which, fair disclosure, I helped support during my first year in the legislature to oversee elections. It was made up of retired judges. I ask you, could you find any other group that is more interested in nonpartisan oversight of elections than retired judges? And they were doing a great job. They were getting national recognition for how well Wisconsin's elections were being administered. But then they started looking into somebody who was not following the rules of elections, Scott Walker, who was governor at the time. Next thing you know, the Government Accountability Board has been dissolved and replaced with this Elections Commission with 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. Shulman says, I believe it was designed to fail. Anything that's even remotely controversial is always going to end in a tie of 3-3. Well, it hasn't always, but it has sometimes. So what I'd like to hear from Josh Shulman is a full-throated endorsement of going back to the Government Accountability Board. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for that. Especially somebody who is, again, coming down on the side of getting rid of absentee ballot drop boxes, which, again, we can say till we're blue in the face and it'll remain true. Hasn't been anything found untoward about absentee ballot drop boxes, and Republicans loved them. They were a convenience to rural voters until Donald Trump told them to be opposed to it because it helped him perpetuate the narrative in which he was hoping to stage a coup in 2020 and overthrow the results of a presidential election. So Josh Shulman had a chance to show some independence and stand up for free and fair elections in Wisconsin. Instead, he's just towing the usual Republican talking points, and that's awfully unfortunate. We'll have today's Homeroom segment with Bryn Horton from the Wisconsin Public Education Network right after this. You're up north. How is Bryn doing today?
I'm doing all right. The sun is shining, so it's a good day.
I know. Did you happen to catch any northern lights?
I did not.
Okay. That's all right. They were just, they were really, I saw them all over my social media feeds here. Question for you. Are you hearing me on your computer speakers, or are you using headphones or AirPods or anything like that?
No, I'm on my computer speakers. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you happen to have headphones for your computer?
I do not
Okay.
nearby at least.
Okay. All right. I'll just have you make sure you keep the volume down just a little bit, because I'm hearing myself as well. So the listeners are hearing that little bit of feedback. So I don't want you to have to strain to hear me, but just take it to a level where you can still hear me and it doesn't get picked up by the computer's microphone. Okay.
Okay. Is that any better?
Yes, it's definitely better. So I think we're good there.
Perfect.
Okay. So we've got the bills on school district consolidation. I've got a bill that continues voucher availability for siblings, even if a family's income changes, if I'm reading that one right.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that. We have the one legislator who talked about getting rid of DPI. I don't know if you've seen that one, or if you want to, kind of tell us what it is that DPI does, that they're not just sitting around,
Yes.
rubber stamping things. There's the new report cards, I guess, that came out yesterday. Is that something you want to get into as well?
Yeah, I can talk. I haven't looked at the overall. I've mostly looked at our school district, so I
Sure.
haven't looked at the overall.
That's okay.
report cards
Yeah,
yet.
you can give, from that one district standpoint, what it is that people could look for in their own school district report cards. And then finally, I see the governor was critical of federal impact aid that's being delayed by the White House. Is that something we can talk about, or should I talk about that separately?
I would talk about that separately. I haven't
Okay.
had yeah,
That
sorry.
was- no, that's totally fine. I just want to know as I'm putting my notes together. I don't want to stump you live on air here. So, all right. I think we're in good shape here. So, all right. We got 2.5 minutes left in the break. I'll tuck you back in the waiting room, and I'll see you in just a bit.
Okay, thanks.
Upper Midwest. Our local dealers, expert agronomists, and everyone throughout our organization who live to make life better on farms and in the community. It's our people, products, and pedigree that combine to make a true difference that you can see on the bottom line and feel in your heart. Learn more about our difference makers at dairylandseedifference.com.
And the Wisconsin State Fair still working through ticket exchanges for those that had tickets for the Wisconsin State Fair's final day. Remember, it was canceled because of bad weather. You may be eligible for a ticket exchange through this Saturday, November 15th. Go to wistatefair.com for details. I'm PM Yankee.
Our lakes are gorgeous. Just don't swim in them. 92.7 WMDX, keeping Madison honest, one broadcast at a time.
Sunny and breezy today. We'll get to around 50 by early this afternoon. The temperatures are going to drop back into the mid-40s by late this afternoon. The wind west gusting to 25 to 30 today. Tonight, partly cloudy. Will drop into the mid to upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp now 37.
This portion of John and Gordy brought to you by Verlo. Experience the Verlo mattress difference. For a limited time, purchase a mattress from the V3 collection and get a free upgrade to an adjustable foundation. American-made, locally crafted, right here in Madison. Come shop at Verlo and sleep well tonight.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island, highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local civic media radio station.
The elder care locator.
30 seconds until we're back.
Welcome back. It is 7:35 on this Wednesday morning, November 12th, 2025. I'm Pat Kreitlow here in Chippewa Falls. Nice to have you along. Bryn Horton will join us for our homeroom segment where we talk all about education in Wisconsin. I'll bring her in just a bit to talk about some of the bills that the legislature is considering and maybe some of the bills that they're not considering. But I'm going to do a little editorializing first before she gets some Q&A from me, because there was a social media post that stood out yesterday for me. I saw it first on Twitter, and you can follow the show on Twitter at PK Radio Show. Same on Blue Sky, if you'd rather not be on Twitter. But on there was a post by a state legislator who was talking about recent events surrounding the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, which supports education all over the state, and taking issue with some recent controversies and calling for the elimination of the Department of Public Instruction, which is right up there with those people who talk about abolishing the United States Department of Education. And it always comes down to, well, let's just help the local districts and keep things at the local level, and we don't need all these bureaucrats running these things anyway. Okay, here's my proposal then. Instead of abolishing the Department of Public Instruction, which has all this support staff that helps all of our schools, how about we take care of the support staff that helps the legislature? At least for this one legislator, for his office alone. I propose abolishing the Legislative Reference Bureau. Not abolishing it, but just he can't access it anymore. Because that way he gets nobody with legal training that will help him write bills. And therefore, every bill he writes is going to get tossed out because it wasn't drafted properly. And then we're going to abolish, for him, the Legislative Fiscal Bureau. Because then we can watch him basically just pull numbers out of his butt to try to write a budget, because he will not have the experts at the Legislative Fiscal Bureau to give him all the latest stats about the state budget. Let's get rid of the Legislative Audit Bureau so that there is no oversight, or he can't get any oversight of state agencies. We're going to get rid of, for him, the Legislative Counsel's Office. That would be the attorneys who give legal advice to the legislature. We're going to get rid of the Legislative Human Resources Office. Good luck trying to hire a staff and manage it and not get into trouble. And we're going to get rid of the Legislative Technology Services Bureau and watch his computers go bad real fast. As a legislator, myself once upon a time, I understand, appreciate, respect, and cherish all that is done behind the scenes to make our government work, to make government functional. What other people like to derisively sneer at as bureaucrats are people that government can't function without. This is not some kind of a blanket statement that there's no thinning that could be done, that there's no budget that could use some trimming or oversight now and then. But anytime I just hear abolish this department, whether it's Department of Education, Department of Public Instruction, or anything else, I just want to remind people of all the other ways that we all have support staff that help us get through life a little bit easier. And it sure is easy to talk big at the bar about abolishing an entire agency until you realize that, that's not a serious approach toward the way that we educate our kids. Other people, thankfully, are much more serious about this. Bryn Horton's one of them. She is with the Wisconsin Public Education Network. She's a school board member yourself, right, Bryn? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah. I'm school boarding in Sun Prairie.
In Sun Prairie, that's right. And so we're going to talk about the legislation that you follow for the Public Education Network. But let me toss that to you. And I just wanted to get my editorializing out of the way first. Again, not saying the Department of Public Instruction is perfect, but you and every school board member understands that there is a role to be played by some kind of an agency like the Department of Public Instruction at the state level, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, especially all of the state level mandates that come down from the legislature are all managed by DPI.
Oh, there you go. So I guess if he doesn't want that, then I guess he doesn't want state mandates anymore, which, trust me, I see my fair share of micromanaging, and we see it in some of these bills that are out there as well. So let's just, again, take it easy on abolishing entire departments here. I'd rather have serious lawmakers working on oversight of our schools. But as far as the bills that are being taken up so far in the fall session, and maybe we'll get to some of them that aren't being taken up as well. But the one that's getting some attention today is about school district consolidation. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about what these bills might be proposing for struggling school districts that are looking to consolidate services?
Yeah, so my understanding is a lot of these bills came from the Speaker's task force. I think it's been now a couple of years ago on consolidation and looking for ways to incentivize for school districts. Consolidation or whole grade sharing was another one of the bills, whether or not school districts want to be able to share grades. And so that it's mainly looking for financial abilities for them to be able to add their grades together or consolidate school districts. And then there was also a bill, I think most of the testimony was focused on yesterday around having a DPI hire an entity to conduct a survey analysis on school board or school district boundaries, whether or not there's places that they would recommend for school districts to consolidate, and look for sharing of monies and being able to get rid of staff. So that I think is the big bill that came out of yesterday's hearings.
Yeah, here's what I see as the good and the bad side of that. Now, on the good side, there has been consolidation in school districts before. In fact, I have a distant relative who back in the early 1960s, helped Wisconsin consolidate from well over 1,000 school districts. A lot of them were one-room schoolhouse districts into the 400 some districts that we have now. So, I mean, that's always something that you have to be on the lookout for, but you can't turn it into like a shortcut instead of just adequately funding the schools that we have, is saying, well, maybe if you two combine forces, that'll be better. All I really see there, Bryn, if you don't take care of the root causes of funding and all that, is you're creating longer school bus rides, but I'm not seeing a lot of other efficiencies.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, especially in rural school districts, right, that are struggling to pass referendums, are having a hard time getting operating costs. And I know that I've heard Senator Quinn talk about the fact that the state legislature needs to think about the fact that in rural school districts that are spread out wide, that consolidation isn't an option for them. And how do we make sure that they stay whole and can operate their schools effectively for those rural those rural communities.
Yeah. I mean, look, if there's ways to share services, professional services and things like that's fine. And again, boundary adjustments, happen. They're understandable. But I'm just seeing in the coverage of this that there's basically a financial incentive to consider consolidation, but they're really not getting at the root cause, which is chronic underfunding of our public schools that's been going on for the past 15 years. And obviously we saw that in this last state budget with, no increase in general school aids whatsoever. Yeah. So consolidation is one aspect that they're looking at. There's another that is especially troubling to me, and this one deals with the voucher schools program, where we're using your tax dollars to help families send their kids to private school, even if, maybe their income changes and goes up. This puts a little bit of heredity into the system by allowing siblings to attend voucher schools just because their big brother or big sister went, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think that coupled, so any siblings, once you're in the voucher program as a family, you can stay in the voucher program, and all additional siblings can get added in there as they grow into the system. There's also, I believe, one that doesn't require people to have to submit their income levels, and so there's really no check then on whether people go out of the income level of being able to be in the voucher school that they would. Once you're in, you stay in.
I mean, they're not even pretending anymore that this is something that's necessary for lower income families to have a quote unquote fair shot at a good education through a private school, when of course the answer would be to take care of our public schools, statewide. But I mean, there's not even the appearance, if a bill like this were to go through, that, once your family's in, it's almost like a country club. It doesn't matter if your parents get a big raise or a better job, you still get those state tax dollars to go to these private schools, right?
Yep. Yeah. And as I know we talk about a lot, right? Once the caps come off for people enrollment and how many people they can have in that school that are on vouchers in the next year or so, and then when income level caps come off as well, like those are going to be some huge things if once you get in, you stay in.
Yeah. And it is, as other states are finding out, becoming, a $1 billion boondoggle that is, is just not necessary. Wisconsin has these enrollment caps right now to prevent unchecked growth from bankrupting the state budget. But again, there is no large scale effort underway to prevent those caps from being lifted sometime in the next year or so here. What are some of the other bills that you've been following that the legislature is taking up in the fall session here, or may take up?
I had hopes that there were a few good ones. There's bipartisan support for a bill around rehiring, being able to allow to rehire retirees who are already getting money from the retirement system. And so that one has been through committee and has bipartisan support in both houses, the Senate and the Assembly. And that has not gone down onto the floor for anybody to actually vote on. And then things are happening rapidly, I guess. I think is the other thing, is these bills on the consolidation got introduced on Monday morning and had a hearing on Tuesday morning. So it feels like sometimes things come out of the blue, even though there's all these great bills that are still awaiting hearings, and they get introduced, they get a hearing, and they move on, and everything else stays.
It really is as if, we all learned how a bill becomes a law, and what they've done is they've set up basically a velvet rope, a VIP line. And all of the, the bills that Democrats, or even have some bipartisan bills, they have to wait in that line. But boy, when there's something, that is wanted that might be not quite in line with, mainstream thought in Wisconsin, they fast track that puppy. Like you said, they announce it in committee, 24 hours notice, and it's gone. And it is really it really is an insult to, the legislators and their constituents who expect the system to work fairly for all. It's not that every bill is going to get considered. That's certainly not the case here. But they're being handled in a way that, I've been watching this legislature for 30 years, and I've never seen it handled quite like this, Bryn.
Yeah, and it's pretty much, it feels like anything that's written on the Republican side is going to get a hearing, and it doesn't matter what kinds of stuff gets introduced. If it has a Democrat's name on it, it's not getting very far, which is a shame.
Yeah, and like I said, there's plenty of other bills out there that could be considered. For example, one that would provide more information about the state aid reduction to school districts that go, that are in the voucher program, and plenty of other things that, rather than micromanaging school districts or taking more taxpayer funds, would actually be a resource for our public schools to improve. Thankfully, Bryn Horton's following all that for us through the Wisconsin Public Education Network and checks in with us every so often to give us an update from the state capitol. Bryn, we appreciate all that you're doing, and thanks so much for spending a little time with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Still ahead, we're going to be talking to Earl Ingram. He'll tell us what's going on as part of the What's Going On podcast with Earl Ingram. Melissa Baldoff has our weekly climate check as well. And then we're going to talk about deer hunting. And we'll be talking to a member of the Civic Media family from up in the Park Falls area about a 50-year program that gives deer hunters a place to share their stories each season. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. I'll be right back.
Show, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m.
This portion of the John and Gordy Show is brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center, 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison, helping people change their lives by improving their hearing. They offer fast and flexible appointments with individualized care. Go to MadisonHearingAidCenter.com and take a free hearing test online. They help John Peterson, they help me, and they can help you too. Call them at 608-249-4077. Don't let hearing loss frustrate you anymore. Go to MadisonHearingAidCenter.com.
I'm hungry. What's cooking?
Oh, no, not me. It's your turn.
Oh, we're back to taking turns?
Yes.
Well, how about Sugar River Pizza?
Oh, yeah, now they can cook.
I could really go for some of that 12-hour smoked pulled pork.
Ooh, and some pasta. Okay, now I'm hungry. Sugar River, here we come.
And they have that great kids menu, too.
We don't have any kids.
Right. That's beside the point. The point is, I'm hungry, you're hungry.
Let's go.
Yes. And we should talk about having some kids.
Get in the car, Bob. Sugar River, Sun Prairie, Verona, New Glarus, and catering.
What is a commercial? It's a message delivered to the people, in this instance through your radio speakers, into your ears. Why, it's like a movie for your brain. This radio commercial is directed to the business community. If you want to reach more customers, you should be using WMDX Radio. It's that simple. Just email sales@WMDXradio.com and let our crack sales team show you how to make your business grow with the #1 medium known to humankind, the radio commercial on WMDX. Long may you wave.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Last week, Democrats notched a number of big victories in elections across the country. And while Wisconsin did not have an election on November 4th of this year, these results can tell us something about November 3rd of next year, the day the 2026 midterm elections will be held. While races like the one for mayor of New York City grabbed more headlines, it's the elections that happened in the Virginia House of Delegates that could tell us more about what might be coming in Wisconsin. There, Democrats went from a slight majority of 50 of 100 seats to a near supermajority with 64 seats. Those kinds of down-ballot results could suggest that Democrats are poised for a breakthrough. In the Wisconsin State Legislature, there will be the first election held fully under new maps.
Hey, Jimmy.
What's up?
How you doing?
Doing all right, man. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through it.
All right. All right. Start with little Pat Murphy.
Oh, yeah. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm here.
All right. All right. Appreciate it. All right. Just over 30 seconds. Coming up later, Matt and Air on Air is next, 9 to 11 weekdays on the Civic Media Radio Network. Jane Matt and Greg Bach. And coming up at 9:30 this morning, Andra Watkins, a New York Times bestselling author, discussing the rise of Christian nationalism. And then just after 10 a.m., Dr. Kristen Lyerly will be joining Jane and Greg. Coming up later this afternoon on the Maggie Dawn Show at 4:35, Rebecca Bennett, a congressional candidate out of New Jersey, a veteran running for office, part of a group of female veterans running for Congress calling themselves the Hellcats. That's part of the Maggie Dawn Show, 4 until 6 this afternoon. And, of course, in between those two, you've got Tom Hartman and then Todd Alba from 2 to 4. Civic Media Sports Director Jimmy Kuska joins us now to talk a bit about, well, let's start with Pat Murphy. So, Jimmy, good morning. How's it feel seeing Pat Murphy getting Manager of the Year for the second year in a row?
I think all doubt was eliminated on that front once he pulled that pancake out of his pocket during that interview. Once that happened, I'm like, that's your Manager of the Year right there. There's no question.
Yes, no doubt. And I know, look, Stephen DeVote wasn't a catcher here for a very long time, but he made an impression on me and I think a lot of people. It just seems like a good guy. And to have him get Manager of the Year for the second year in a row in the American League with the Cleveland Guardians, I think that's a credit to the Brewers organization as much as anything else.
Yeah, and I think it's also a credit to the fact that there are teams that are doing more with less, and it's not just an automatic, all right, well, let's just take the team with the most resources and put together the most wins or whatever. The Brewers got the most wins, and they had I think they were the bottom third of resources in all of baseball. And here they're churning out not only wins at the major league level, but you look up and down the minor league system, and they've set themselves up for the long haul because there are prospects all over the system, and they are doing it the right way. They are developing at a great rate, and they are the envy right now, I think, of baseball, of all these teams that have these multi-billions of dollars that they can throw around. Here the Brewers are just being good at baseball.
Yeah. Terry Francona got plenty of votes, second place votes. And to be fair, Craig Counsell got a fair share of votes, second place votes, third place votes. And is still, despite all of my derision, he is still a very widely respected, very smart manager and did not have a bad season for the Chicago Cubs. He had just the kind of season we wanted him to have, a little less than how the Brewers did. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if you look at any of the teams that made the playoffs, I mean, we were sitting 3-4 months ahead of it. We got halfway through the baseball season. The standings looked a lot different. So they got it right. They got it right with the people that they picked, not only for MVP. They also got it right with the Rookie of the Year in the National League in selecting former Madison West standout Drake Baldwin. So I thought that was a really cool thing that there was a former Wisconsin high school baseball player that got that recognition as well. It just shows you that baseball's great here. We've seen a lot of top end guys come out of Wisconsin in recent years, so that was really cool to see too.
Yeah. I don't think I've asked you where you stand on this, and so I'm not putting you on the spot, but Parker's got to get his Vuvuzela ready. I want to know your thoughts on the NBA Cup. Oh, you went and got the sound effect. You were doing such a better job at it yourself.
Got to class it up a little.
Okay, so it's classed up a little. The Bucks play at Charlotte tonight, and then on Friday, they're home at the Fiserv Forum once again against Charlotte, but this one is part of the NBA Cup. There we go. Jimmy, a good way to make the regular season games count or useless distraction prone to mockery?
All right, so Saturday mornings at 7, Parker, myself, a couple other knuckleheads in the company get together and we talk about this. This is one of the questions this week, and how I literally phrased it was like, "Do you guys care about the NBA Cup? I don't even know what the NBA Cup is. I couldn't even tell you who won it last year." Then they informed me that the Bucks won.
The Bucks did. I know.
Like, oh, I had no idea.
Which I don't know. What did that get them? A little extra bonus money and a free cup of coffee.
Cash.
I don't know.
Cash. I'm like, all right, cool. They're making some money, but it's not affecting anything else. It's not going to help them win an actual championship. All right, cool. They're making some money. I guess that's cool, but I don't know. It's not that interesting to me, and I understand why the NBA is doing it, but I don't know, man.
Look, it is easy. It's just an easy thing to mock.
There's already 82 regular season games. We don't need more. I don't know.
Right.
It's just what it is.
But what I will say, because I know Luke Mathers will say it, if you are a a true NBA fan, like you watch regular season games the way that I watch regular season baseball games, okay? And if this motivates that some of these games, that apparently last Friday's game between the Bucks and the Bulls got to be rather spirited, because who knew there's a point differential involved in this as well. So if you are a day-to-day NBA fan, I can totally see why this is a net plus. I'm just saying that from an observational standpoint, especially with the goofy looking courts and uniforms that they get for it.
The Minnesota court with the lime green.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's City Connect on steroids is what it is.
I don't know, man. There's 82 regular season games. We have 5 months left in the season. I can see why they're doing it to kind of, juice some interest in November and, ahead of the Christmas games, when people sort of start tuning in, and then they don't really start getting involved until we get, to the All-Star break. But there's so much basketball already. And this time of year too, you're very distracted with everything else happening. You're still, in the meat of the NFL season. There's college football wrapping up. There's, you just got done with baseball. There's so much to contend with this time of year. It is so hard to, I guess, break into the consciousness of the average average sports fan this time of year. So for me, it exists, but I honestly didn't know much about it. And then I say that as somebody who follows a lot of sports. Like, of course, I know what the NBA Cup is, like, and define it, but like, I didn't follow it closely enough to. It's like the NFL preseason to me. I couldn't tell you who went 3-0 this year.
Here's what I want. I want the email from somebody at the end of this tournament to say, "Hey, Pat, you dummy. Thanks for talking about it so much. It got me interested. I watched it and I loved it. So thanks for turning me on to it, you jerk." To which I will say, "You're welcome. I'm glad I performed that service for the NBA. I really hope I did." And Jimmy Kuska helped me along with it, Civic Media Sports Director. Jimmy, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, take care.
All right. Earl Ingram is on the way, coming up right after the news, and then we will talk deer hunting as well, coming up at 8:35. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. The man went and got professional audio for us over here.
Nice. We literally, that's how I phrased the question on Saturday. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this, but are you guys excited about this? And they're all like, "Oh yeah, this is great for the sport."
I love Luke's excitement. I find it refreshing. I find it adorable. Okay.
Yeah, it exists. To me, it exists. It's fun, but it's so early for the NBA. I still have my feelings in a lot of other boats right now. So.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Appreciate you guys. Talk to you next week.
All right. Yep. See you later. All right. Earl, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. Am I being too tough on the NBA here?
No, man. 82 games is a long time.
Uh-huh.
I'm an NBA fan, but I've been an NBA fan for a long time, and it's long. Season's too long, and
yes.
hard to get excited about it early.
Hey, so I guess, whatever gets it done for him. What's on tap for you today?
Well, because of the issue with people not being able, not the, what do you call it? Not food stamps. What is it called?
SNAP.
SNAP.
Mm-hmm.
Because of SNAP, I really started going through some real hard feelings and looking at our nation and where children are ranked in poverty, and in America, the wealthiest nation on earth, we have the highest poverty rate for children in the top 5 nations, in the world. And you have to ask the questions, how can that possibly be? You live in rural America, I live in urban America. Why are we allowing this to take place? When you look at other nations that struggle, that are a lot larger than ours, and yet, why are we even talking about this? This should not be an issue.
I know.
When you look at all the other things we spend money on, and I think too, Pat, that part of this is we don't have empathy the way we should. We're blessed and fortunate that our grandchildren and our children, and we live a nice life. We can't to not think about the other children who become adults. We got to really address this, and it's just not going away because, they're going to settle this. because the issue is still there. 14% of American children live in poverty.
And which is just an absolute crime. It just is. All right, so I'm pulling up a few notes on that here. All right, and I have not pulled up any show notes, so I have no idea what you got going on with the podcast.
Well, I got a lot of stuff going on with the podcast, but I've been really my focus because I work with special ed and disabled children as well, and that's kind of been my focus during this shutdown. And I just want to talk about those families and people who we we don't see them, so we don't think about them.
Absolutely. Okay, that all sounds good, and we'll get going in about 3 minutes here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The next day, the Hornets looking to end a 3-game losing streak. Men's college basketball, Wisconsin with a win at the Kohl Center, 86-55 over Ball State University. The Badgers now 3-0. NFL, the Packers getting ready to play the Giants Sunday in New York. Center Elton Jenkins placed on injured reserve after suffering a fractured fibula Monday night against the Eagles. And the Brewers' Pat Murphy named National League Manager of the Year again. What's the key to heading a major league clubhouse?
I think you got to be authentic. And you got to be in it for the right reasons. And, it takes a while. I was lucky. I got to be a bench coach for 8 years. I was learning, what's going to be my way if I ever get a shot. You got to live it, and then they'll trust you.
That's Pat Murphy with Sports on Mike Clemens.
Your neighbors are talking. Leaders are deciding. Madison's story unfolds daily on 92.7 WMDX.
Sunny and breezy today. We'll get to around 50 by early this afternoon. The temperatures are going to drop back into the mid-40s by late this afternoon. The wind west gusting to 25 to 30 today. Tonight, partly cloudy. Will drop into the mid to upper 20s tomorrow. Sunshine, high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp now 37.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
Pat, we've seen this explosion of data centers. How we manage this, the genie's out of the bottle, is going to be really important.
I'm not saying there can't be data centers because we're going to need data. We're going to use AI for whatever purposes, probably just to learn how to play poker better, but I hope cure cancer. But just ask all the questions and don't believe all the hype. Get whatever you can in terms of promises and regulations. Don't let it own you.
The Todd Albaugh Show, weekdays 2 to 4 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help.
30 seconds until we're back.
Across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
And good morning. It's 8:06. Nice to have you back here up north on a Wednesday morning, November 12th. Parker Olson is producing things down in Madison Studio A2. Earl Ingram is standing by. Also later this hour, we're going to talk about the Deer Hunters Roundup, a staple of northern Wisconsin radio for half a century now. And with the gun deer season getting underway, we'll talk to one of our Civic Media colleagues from up in the Park Falls area about that program. And it's a long history of allowing hunters to share tips and tell tales along the way as well. As always, you can ask us questions or make comments by calling us at 855-75-CIVIC or send us a text message to that very same number. You can use the Civic Media app to call us or text us or leave us a voice note. And you can get into the comment sections of YouTube and Facebook where you can see the video version live stream of this radio show. and give us your comments and questions there as well. From Rob in Tigerton, he said, good morning, sunny, 36 degrees, doctor's appointment today. He's working on his Highway 29 scrapbook, something he's been working on since the 1980s. It's a thing that he can work on between the mowing and snow plowing seasons. He says, congrats to Pat Murphy for being manager of the year. He says, enjoyed the Northern Lights. I hope for clear skies. And we unfortunately had cloudy skies in the Tigerton area. Also said he had tacos at Jaeger Bombers in Tigerton, a new bar that's starting to serve a variety of food and daily meal specials. And so check out that place when you're in the Tigerton area. All right, Rob, I will. And speaking of Northern Lights, I mean, these photos, I got to see them. Not nearly as sharp as other people and some of their photos. I'm looking at a photo that was texted to us by Chris, listening to our Chippewa Valley station, and it was taken over Lake Superior. And the purples and the pinks and the yellows are just stunning. And I see all kinds of photos on social media, and do feel free to share with us as well, either in the comment section or text it over to us. And we'd love to see what you got to see last night. Some places that never get to see Northern Lights. There was an especially strong show last night, and hope you got to enjoy it, and maybe still got a little bit of sleep as well. All right, let's check in with Earl Ingram from the What's Going On with Earl Ingram podcast. Head over to civicmedia.us, click on shows to learn more. Earl, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning to you, Pat. I'm doing fine. How are you? I just wanted to weigh in on the Northern Lights. And,
yes.
You know, when you think about this creation and things that we just take for granted, right? The Northern Lights and what that is, I mean, the fact that we have an opportunity to see that beauty, it's, you know, some walk past it and it's not a big deal. But if you really think about what's happening there, you have to stop and marvel at what this creation really is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember the old Cosmos series with Carl Sagan.
Yeah,
and again, just to be able to appreciate when we use the word nature, we often the word majesty kind of comes up when it comes to the universe and space and phenomena there. What you think of is just how small we are, how small our little rock is hurtling around the sun. And yet we spend all of our time with these petty squabbles and fights and things. And I think we need those moments that Mother Nature gives us to let us know the way that Providence has really blessed us on this little rock.
You know, I say to people, and maybe it's because you and I are long of tooth, but you know, maybe I didn't look at it from that perspective when I was younger, but, you know, the longer you get to stay on this planet, the more you realize just how special it is and how short a time it is that we're here. And so appreciate it while we're here.
Yeah. And like I said, unfortunately, some people would rather really get small and focus on things that aren't even about stewardship to the planet. They're not about service to one another. It's just about winning. It's just about power. And that is definitely what you get out of this government shutdown thing, which may be ending here shortly. But in the meantime, what it has done intentionally to throw so many families for a loop in terms of their healthcare costs, and then now also losing, you know, their SNAP benefits. And it's just, again, it sounds cliche, but I know you've done this too. Won't somebody think about the children? Don't make this about SNAP, the government program. Make this about the kids who would be going hungry otherwise because, you know, their parents are struggling in this economy.
You know, Pat, I looked at some numbers, and America, 36 million Americans live in poverty, and child poverty rate is 14%. In Russia, the child poverty rate is 9%. In China, the child poverty rate is 6%. In Canada, it's 9%. You know, you have to stop and ask, why? Why is America's child poverty rate higher than all the rest of those nations? We only make up 4% of the population. We're the wealthiest nation on earth. For heaven's sakes, you know, I'm in schools now and I see kids, and I know that they're living in poverty. I live in an urban area. You live in a rural area. There are children in rural areas who are in poverty families. What are we doing? I mean, the wealthy are getting wealthier. 14% of the elderly in America live in poverty. I mean, we got to fix this, Pat. Okay, and I don't want to hear Democrat, Republican, those things immaterial. What about people? We're only on this planet in the twinkling of an eye, we're gone. Why can't we fix this?
And it's not just that, we're doing, what I sometimes refer to as the wars on the poors. And it's not just about the children, but I think of how the Roman Catholic bishops in the United States recently chose a new leader, and in their communications also made clear they are very troubled by our treatment of immigrants since Donald Trump took office. And so between immigrants and children, and look, we're not going to turn this into religious talk radio, but I don't feel bad at all saying I'm really not sure how some of these people show up in church on Sundays when I see what they're doing to our children and what they're doing to people who, like their own great-grandparents, simply wanted a better and safer life for their families.
Pat, it is heartbreaking when you see what is taking place. It's not under the cloak of darkness, in broad daylight, what is taking place in this nation. And not enough Americans, I think, are outraged by it. After probably decades from now, they'll study this, the historians, and talk about a dark chapter of our history. We've lived through it, and I've lived through a couple, and you and I have lived through a couple dark chapters. But this is one that clearly is right now. Maybe people can't see it. Maybe people are too involved with their own lives, but I don't know. I choose to be involved in the lives of many others, and I think it enriches my life. Pat, I just, for the life of me, even after this, government reopens, the issues that created this are still there.
Right.
And so people are going to still need SNAP benefits. I mean, 14% of the elderly in this nation live in poverty. Why would we think that's okay? I mean, people have done the best that they could. It's not, and I'll say this, Pat, people think it's easy to make it in this nation. It's not. Let's be honest. For those who are fortunate enough to have made it through, congratulations. But it's not easy. It is difficult to make it in a nation now that is, more engaged and caught up in a global reality, and that's, technology. And we're not leading anymore like we were when you and I were young. And so it's more difficult.
And with the explosive growth in AI, we've had 1 million corporate layoffs already in this country this year. So when you look at SNAP, which the last number I've got here is for 2021, SNAP helped keep nearly 3 million Americans out of poverty, including 1.3 million children. If you can't do something like that for 1.3 million children, even as we're talking about Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire, we got to talk about priorities.
I remember telling people when they were saying, well, Elon Musk is going to be the first trillionaire. And they were all excited. And I said, well, that $1 trillion won't keep him here 1 millisecond longer than when his time is up. And so, we're only here for a short period of time. The $1 trillion in one man's hands, which can transform the world. $1 trillion can end poverty, Pat, over the entire world. Why would we think it makes sense to put that in the hands of one man? Like you said, I'm not, I believe that there's a power greater than myself. We're not, and you can call that person or entity whatever you want to call them, or her, but I believe that there's a power greater than me. And I believe what has been created here is created for all the human beings and not for just some.
As expressed by, on behalf of a lot of listeners from the text line, Jim in Brookfield, and he writes in every week, Earl, and this week he says it's encouraging to hear the passion in Earl's voice fighting for the common good. And you cover that not just from the standpoint of fighting poverty, but also from education. Education is a focal point of the What's Going On with Earl Ingram podcast. There's an episode now called The Road to Better Education. You've long been an advocate for special education. So along with feeding the kids, we've got to educate the kids. And again, to do so, you got to do so with your heart and your head, not just trying to, be stingy with your checkbook.
Pat, after it's all said and done, I've never been able to understand why we don't see that children grow up to be adults. We've got problem with adults, and most of the time it's because we didn't take care of them when they were children. And last time I checked, I didn't get to pick the family that I grew up in. Did you?
No.
Okay, so if we don't get to pick the families that we grow up in, then how do we not understand that we need to support children regardless of what family they grew up in, because they eventually become adults?
Yeah. We always hear about this, bootstrap mentality, and Jim and Brookfield mentioned, until we address that bootstrap mentality, we're going to have issues here. But like the column I wrote over at upnorthnewswi.com, as a kid whose mom was on food stamps as a single mom, food stamps, Pell Grants, Section 8 housing, Medicaid, those are the bootstraps. If you provide those to struggling families, they can lift themselves up, get an education, get a job, and pay back in taxes over the years far more than I ever got in benefits from Pell Grants, food stamps, and everything else.
Pat, I would say this last thing. What I don't understand is, with all of this, we're looking at these young people, we're looking at the struggles that they go through. Our forefathers, the people who came before us, they knew the importance of this because they created these programs.
That's right.
So why have we now decided that the programs are not worthy? What does it say about those of us who's the great generation sacrificed for us to get where we are, and now we're not willing to do that for the others?
Exactly. It's such a sense of complacency that it's tough to fathom. Earl Ingram has all this and more in his What's Going On podcast. Find it at civicmedia.us. Earl, thank you as always. Have a good day.
Always great talking to you.
Thank you, sir. We'll be talking deer hunting in our next half hour. I'm Pat Kreitlow. You're up north. How is Melissa doing today?
Doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing okay too. Let's see here. I have not looked to see if Governor Evers has put out anything from the conference in Brazil yet.
I haven't seen anything. I think that
Okay.
they've just been so focused on SNAP. Like,
Yeah. Yep. Makes total sense.
Not a whole lot else has been going on
Yep. Nope. That's
out
all
of
good.
them.
Okay. Let's see. What else have I got here? Oh yeah, this California coastline. Great. All right.
But there has been quite, I think there's been some good coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, I have seen good national coverage of it. So true.
Right.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, I think we're ready to roll here, and we'll do that in 90 seconds.
"30 seconds until we're back."
Well, before we get to Melissa Baldoff and our climate check, I was just looking at a little bit of breaking news out of the New York Times that says that Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted sex offender, alleged in emails that Donald Trump knew of his conduct. House Democrats on Wednesday released emails in which Jeffrey Epstein wrote that Trump had, quote, spent hours at my house with one of Epstein's victims, among other messages that suggest the convicted sex offender believed Trump knew more about his abuse than he has acknowledged. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee said the emails raised new questions about the relationship between the two men. And, of course, with the government shutdown coming to an end, a newly elected member of Congress from Arizona will be sworn in, representing the 218th vote that could lead to the release of more of the Epstein files, something that Republicans in Congress, including every Wisconsin Republican member of Congress, has been voting consistently to shield, to hide, to protect Epstein and others, rather than allow the victims to seek justice. So we'll follow that story throughout the day, of course, as well. At 8:24 now, time to do our climate check, and Melissa Baldoff joins us as always. And Melissa, there's a big climate conference that's going on in Brazil. The New York Times headline from a few days back said, "The U.S. is skipping this year's climate summit. For many, that's okay." That's what we live in now, where it's a sigh of relief that the president of the United States is not going to come bull in a china shop this thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is really just an incredible, lack of leadership, and not just from Donald Trump and state, government officials who are skipping this United Nations Climate Summit for the first time in 30 years. We also have business leaders are skipping this because they're following Donald Trump's lead. It's the same thing we're seeing across the spectrum and on every issue, right? Is we have these people who are leaders in their industries and their in the business world, and they are just pre-surrendering to Donald Trump. So, we used to have leaders of our large corporations making pledges to stop polluting, wanting to be a part of the solution, globally and here at home. And now we don't have anybody showing up.
No, but as we've discussed in this segment plenty of times, there are still people in certain circles at the state government level and other levels who are interested, who do want to continue to be part of the solution. Governor Tony Evers is among those at this conference, so it'll be interesting to hear when he returns what kinds of ideas he's brought back, what things that Wisconsin can do to, again, continue to be a leader and doing the things that either mitigate a changing climate or create, the next generation of jobs in green, clean energies and things like that. So, again, there's no Trump, but that doesn't mean, that all is lost and that, nobody's doing the work. There's still plenty of people in Brazil and elsewhere who take this issue seriously.
Absolutely. That is very fortunate. But again, just a real shame that the United States is not the leader, and instead we have China stepping up to, help other countries be able to embrace clean energy. China is really emerging as the leader globally when it comes to renewables. They are really recognizing that, it's cleaner, it's cheaper, it's faster to get online. Renewable energy is the solution to our challenges, and they are helping other countries embrace that as well. And it's really a shame that the United States is not able to be that leader, be that example on the best path forward.
So instead, you do have people like governors who are attending. That includes Governor Gavin Newsom of California, who has kind of emerged as Trump's chief antagonist, including on issues that are related to energy, including a story from the other day that said Trump is trying to propose opening more of the California coast to oil drilling. Gavin Newsom said the proposal is dead on arrival. And so here again is, we could dwell on Trump wanting to drill off the California coast, but let's go to the encouraging part. That you're not going to see, I don't believe, companies rushing in to do that. They know that, that idea lasts as long as Trump is there. And the moment he's off the stage, saner minds will prevail. And so it's easy for companies in the private sector to say, well, we won't go to this summit because it'll make Trump angry. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to rush in to try to drill off the California coast. At least that's my expectation. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, that's one of the worst things about this here is that we have so many people who know better, but aren't choosing to do better because they don't want to be on Donald Trump's bad side. And I do think that they will come back home, for lack of a better word, to sanity, should things change, which I think they will and hope they will. It's, and we'll welcome them back to sanity. But it's unfortunate that we have so few people willing to do that. And I heard somebody on a podcast yesterday that I was listening to really rail against, billionaires and leaders of large corporations who should have this influence and power, saying how, look, these people have FU money. Yeah. And what's the point of having FU money if you're not going to say FU to this guy?
You would think. And they've fallen short of remembering that there hasn't been drilling along the California coast since a massive oil spill in 1969. And they're not rushing back into the Gulf Coast because of Deepwater Horizon. So these companies know better, and Trump's trying to gin it up. But thankfully, he will not be on the stage forever. Melissa Baldoff, thank you as always for this week's Climate Check. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Craig Anderson from Park Falls about the Deer Hunters Roundup. That's after this. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Democrats are introducing a bill that would limit utility costs for Wisconsinites. 1 in 4 Americans struggles to pay their electric bill, according to data from the U.S. Census. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics says energy prices have jumped by 40% just in the last 5 years.
Gray, how are you?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Good, thanks. Let's see. Do we introduce you as 98Q Country or Trail
Really
Mix 103 or Civic Media or what?
Probably Civic Media. I keep it pretty general. I'm a music host here on Civic Media because strictly speaking, I am on 3 different ones. So
okay.
I kind of have a unique role here. I show up, I voice track for 3 hours, cover 13 hours of radio by doing so, and then I just make a lot of ads. So host, producer, hard to go wrong.
I love it. I just love it. All right. So basically we're just getting into the nuts and bolts of what the Deer Hunters Roundup is and how it's made up and hunting traditions and things like that. Anything in particular you want to steer me toward? Make sure I don't forget.
No, I really don't think so. I think just a very basic, fundamental, what is it type conversation would be very conducive to good content. And of course, if there's a particular note you'd like to hit, I'll gladly harp on whatever you might nudge me toward.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, we'll get going here in just over 3 minutes. I'll see you in a little bit.
Good stuff. Parker, good to see you on a Wednesday, bud.
Dude, I can't believe it. It's not afternoon and I'm seeing you. It's crazy.
This is my Friday chair. I don't even know what I'm doing here right now.
This is true.
All right, I'll be right back.
Republican support, which is unlikely in the legislature. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News. Between the lakes and beyond the headlines, 92.7 FM WMDX is where Wisconsin turns for real news and great conversation.
Sunny and breezy today. We'll get to around 50 by early this afternoon. The temperatures are going to drop back into the mid-40s by late this afternoon. The wind west gusting to 25 to 30 today. Tonight, partly cloudy. Will drop into the mid to upper 20s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp now 37.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
State Senator Sarah Kieski, I want to talk about campus closures, especially the UW Baraboo closure.
To see these closures keep happening is heartbreaking, and seeing that there's not been an appreciation of not only the importance of this for students, but really recognizing that these are economic drivers in these small rural communities that is having a huge impact.
The award-winning Maggie Dawn Show. Weekday afternoons from 4 until 6. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Doug Prey, folks, he's a native Wisconsinite and an award-winning filmmaker. Doug, I noticed you received a special thanks for a movie called I Am a Sex Addict. What exactly were they thanking you for? It's a pretty vague category, right?
Kaveh Zahidi, he's a filmmaker in New York. I must have been on his crew about 25 years ago or something.
Oh, that's great.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app. Pete Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, I welcome Appleton-based comedian Rob Brackenridge into the studio. Then Milwaukee Independent Film Awards founder and actor Ezekiel Drews helps us light it up.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
"30 seconds until we're back."
Civic Media has more sports coming up on the air this weekend than you can shake a hockey stick at. And we're going to start with hockey. Badger men's hockey versus Ohio State. There will be games Friday, Saturday. Friday's coverage begins at 6:30. I believe Saturday's at 5:30. Catch the Badger men's hockey team on WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids and WJMS up in Ironwood, Michigan. On Saturday, the Badger football team will be playing at Indiana. Coverage begins at 9 a.m. Saturday on 4 different stations across the network. And then on Sunday, you've got the Packers versus the New York Giants. Coverage begins at 10 a.m. on 4 other stations across the Civic Media radio network. Some folks aren't going to hear those games because it's gun deer season. We're getting to be that time of year again. You know, Thanksgiving's creeping up, and you can't do that till after you have that 9-day gun deer season getting started the weekend before. And of course, you hear the word tradition out there a lot when talking about hunting, something that, you know, fathers and sons and daughters and others have done over the years. But just as much a tradition in the Park Falls area is the Deer Hunters Roundup. And now that the stations up there are part of the Civic Media family, we wanted to talk to Greg Gunderson a bit more about the Deer Hunters Roundup that is happening. So Greg joins us now from Park Falls. Greg, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Pat. Thanks for having me today. It's a beautiful bluebird day up here, but a chilly one, and hunting feels like it's coming in the air.
It most definitely does, yes. So we've got the season coming up, which of course brings us to the Deer Hunters Roundup. And, you know, we do a weekly call with the entire staff around Civic Media, and I always appreciate seeing about this time of year the excitement that people feel because, you know, we talk about local radio, and there's ways that local radio still has that connection to the community, but few have the connection that y'all have up there with the Deer Hunters Roundup. And so tell us a bit about what exactly it is, and then we'll get into just how popular it is with listeners.
The Deer Hunters Roundup, well, first of all, is a very basic show format in which we have live call-ins, the way radio used to really be built on, live audience participation, calling in specifically from deer camps. We're talking to deer hunters. We're talking to, in many cases, multiple generations of people who are at deer camps, which is a phrase that encompasses everything from the shack you're picturing from Escanaba into Moonlight up to something that would be a very expensive Airbnb that only gets used for a couple weekends a year. So the upshot is the people who you don't think would share much about what they're doing are telling all about the experience, and they're ragging on each other a little bit. They're giving each other jokey code names and camp names. But it's one of those things that I thought was totally normal, Pat, until I moved away and realized that we had something weird going on. You know, when you leave home at 18, 19, and you realize, boy, my parents did that one thing really, really weirdly. I thought it was normal because I grew up that way. That for me is the Deer Hunters Roundup. I'm from this station I work at's my hometown. So these are my family members and friends calling in to report, yep, no deer this year here at the Green Acres camp out of Highway Loretta over there. And forgive me, I know that sounds like a stereotype, but there's going to be 30 calls just like that a week from Saturday.
Of course there are. What do we always say? There wouldn't be stereotypes if some people didn't insist on living up to them. It's that's how they get created. So the Deer Hunters Roundup has been a staple for what, a little over 50 years now?
Exactly. So 50 was last year, if I'm not mistaken. I know we shouted about it often enough, but I think I've just kind of repressed it because there was extra work to be done. And you absolutely will find companionable disagreement on who started it. We actually the Civic Media Network just recently acquired another station up north in the UP who will absolutely claim they were doing it first. We have not resolved that conversation yet.
No, there's nothing that gets resolved between Wisconsin and Michigan, from ownership of the UP to which state looks more like a mitten. It's what we do. It's in our DNA. We're talking to Greg Gunderson from the Civic Media stations up in the Park Falls area about the Deer Hunters Roundup. And actually, specifically, there's 3 different stations up there. On what stations and times can people hear it?
Well, actually, we'll be active at about 6 p.m. every day of the gun deer season, except for Thanksgiving, because we've got to give everybody a break for that one. We'll be rotating hosting duties a little bit, but basically every day but Thanksgiving, 6 p.m. on 98Q Country. We'll also be going live over in Hayward, I believe, on WHSM, and then we'll be down in Wisconsin Rapids as well. So tune into stations from those towns. There's multiple in each space, but at least one of them will be rocking the Deer Hunters Roundup. It was really cool. Last year we did that for the first time. We opened it up to Wisconsin Rapids, even though the programming itself and all the calls were going into Park Falls and we were just multiple streaming that. It created this really cool thing where we just expanded the area where we were receiving calls from. So instead of Loretta and Draper just west of us and a couple cities just east, we're getting places way south of them participating in the same level. And again, these are the people who you find them in public. They're not talking much. These are the quiet hunter guys that are just buying ammo and leaving. They will open their hearts up like you're their therapist and they've already paid for it if you want to talk to them about deer hunting and help them spread the word a little bit.
It is, because you truly are among friends. You are in your element, and that's great. Talk about some of the cast of characters that make up the Deer Hunters Roundup. I know we got to start with Joel, of course, because he couldn't be here. He's busy doing live local radio up there in Park Falls.
Yes, every Wednesday morning, he's got a very involved program where he's bringing on local business leaders and just members of local organizations. He calls it reality radio, that's patterned off of the original reality TV 20-some years ago. That kind of speaks to the mentality around here. We don't fix it if it ain't broke. And let me tell you, the Deer Hunters Roundup ain't broke. One of the best things going on with it is Joel Karnick. He just hit 25 years here last year in Park Falls. So he's been doing the roundup for half of its existence on 98Q, and it shows. He can ask 2 questions of your average hunter that will have them spouting paragraphs and saying silly things like, we spotted a giraffe in the woods. That, by the way, is one of the best little treats. Is sometimes families will call in. They want to have their deer camp on the show in some way. One of the cutest ways you can do that, just hand the phone to your 6-year-old. So we'll have to struggle. We'll have to kind of coddle some kids who don't know what to say a little bit, but you'll get nothing cuter. We actually had, I think, 3 daily reports of giraffes sighted in the woods last year. And Joel is all of it. He'll never accept credit, but I worry about that one day he takes off and they hand me the reins, let me tell you.
Well, let's hope then that he sticks around. And of course, you've got plenty of other teammates up there in Park Falls that make this all come together.
Yes, yes, indeed. Big G will be there. If anybody's heard of Big G, you will remember it. And if you haven't heard of Big G, you're missing out. So make sure you catch his. Big G, of course, is nominally a salesperson here in Park Falls, but that also means that he's arranging all the sponsors for shows like the Deer Hunters Roundup, which is special because we'll often bring those sponsors, those business owners, right into the studio to talk about their involvement and their business tie-ins with hunting. So there will be more people in the studio than ever before, including local business leaders, and we'll probably have one of the most notorious hunters from definitely the most notorious hunting camp right in studio. He's not quite an outlaw, but you'll be thinking about outlaws listening to him.
We're talking to Greg Underson from the Civic Media Stations up in Park Falls about the Deer Hunters Roundup. 6 p.m. most days of the gun deer season on 98Q Country out of Park Falls, which you can also listen to through the Civic Media app and the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us. And that has to be Gray, the really cool part is that, instead of just being on one stick up north, that you've now got essentially a global potential audience through the app and the website that people can, even if they live in other places now, they can get a little touch of home.
Well, I mentioned earlier, Pat, that moving away showed me how different the Deer Hunters Roundup is. It's not that super normal thing that everyone's doing. The same can honestly be said without calling me special or anything. Like, we do things just a little different up here in general, simply if for no other reason, because the population's a little bit lower. And again, I didn't realize that until I moved away. And again, when I realized, I realized it a second time when we joined the Civic Media Network, and it slowly became clear that we break every rule that all the other stations follow and get away with it and probably need to do it. So the Civic family grew in a very unique and lopsided way, I think, when the Northwoods was added onto it. But it's never been better than since we've joined the Civic Media Network. So if you want the best form of one of the coolest shows in Wisconsin, catch the Deer Hunters Roundup starting a week from Saturday.
Yeah, and again, it's no knock on our friends at the stations in Waukesha and Madison and whatnot, but a big part of Civic Media's genesis was to provide new voices throughout the rest of Wisconsin, and then help some familiar voices gain a little bit more ground and spread it around through the app and through the website. Greg Underson is our guest talking about the Deer Hunters Roundup, and of course the tradition of the gun deer season. And, it's, if there's one topic that comes up all the time, it's the decline of, the population of hunters. Families aren't as big, not as many kids take up the hunting tradition, from their parents and things like that. And I mean, you've got the demographics of the baby boom and everything else. It's a conversation point, but what else can you do besides try to generate interest in hunting with younger folks, whether they're up there or elsewhere around the state?
It's one of those things that's very hard to create, Pat. I think kids are kind of notorious in a way, if you will, for you never know what they're going to fall in love with. One of the things I highlight on my shows often is when the EMS services, like the ambulances and the fire service, they'll sometimes do like a truck tour thing where they just park a couple emergency vehicles in a parking lot here at City Hall and bring your kids, take pictures in the seats. I always mention to people, you don't know if your kid's about to discover their lifelong passion when they do that. So bring them, expose them to that, see what they think. Hunting might be even tougher because there's a lot of barriers for entry beyond the cost, beyond needing to know how and where to do it. It just isn't necessarily that appealing to modern youth a lot of the time. And that's a simple fact we've got to deal with. Duck hunting, for example, there have been studies done over the last few years based on current trends. The duck population is basically unthreatened based on the expectations of waterfowl hunting. Basically, if things stay how they will, the ducks are going to be fine because the number of hunters has steadily been declining. That may or may not be true with deer hunting, but it speaks to the general decline in hunting as a popularity. But even with fewer people hunting, there's fewer deer being harvested every year. And with grocery prices going up, how can we preserve hunting for hunters and for the animals are questions that get more important every day. More of my family and friends are filling their freezers with venison, but less will be able to the more who need to. So there's a few fundamental questions just hanging. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally talking about harvesting, and in this case, perhaps for people other than yourself, that you could be donating toward and helping them. I know that my daughter, who lived in Idaho for a number of years, her husband at the time was a hunting and fishing guide, and you counted on getting that one elk every year to stock the freezer, and plenty of people still do that with venison. Not as many these days. I mean, things are just a little bit different now. Not just the numbers, but the technology too, Gray. You've got hunters are a little more high tech than ever before.
Yes, absolutely. And I immediately think of the extremes, which is literally carting an ozone generator system to your stand, which is actually quite affordable. And I mean, cameras might be the more readily available example where people are getting updates on their cell phone of the camera that's pointing at where they keep their stand. You know, you used to have to sit there and see the deer. Then we've got cameras that you can go and grab the stick from and put it on your computer, and you can sit there at your computer. All the hunters gather up almost like you're getting your results for your LSAT or something. And it's just, here's the pictures of the buck that came in. And that was super exciting. Nowadays, my brother just walks up to me and says, here's the deer that was at my stand 4 minutes ago. And he just holds his phone up and here's the picture on the cell camera. For me, the biggest departure, though, might be the fact that my dad, who has been wearing Stormy Chromers and wool pants and hunting since he was able to walk, still wears that same gear, just now in a ground blind that has a heater in it. I mean, when you can pay $80 for a propane heater that will fill your entire space with more than enough warmth, and you're not going to see fewer deer as a result, why would I ever suffer in the cold? Which, by the way, was my biggest barrier, aside from the fact that I feel like I want the deer to grow, so I only do it when we're in leaner times.
Sure.
But like, yeah, it was also just too cold, so I better be really hungry before you're going to drag me out there.
Yeah, well, see, the technology does have its positive side, of course. All right, well, Greg Anderson's got this and much more with the Deer Hunters Roundup, 6 p.m. most days of the gun deer season on 98Q Country in Park Falls and through the Civic Media app and website. Great, thanks very much. Have a great time.
You too, Pat. Thank you.
All right, good to see you. We will have some final news and notes from Lake Wissota after this. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. There we go. Made it. All right. That could not have gone better. Great. Thank you so very much.
Oh, thank you, Pat. And as Parker just learned for 100% positive, it's not just football that has me unable to shut up, right?
I was like, man, this is just like on Fridays.
Yeah. You give me space to fill, you better not have anybody else to fill it. I'll get better at it as time goes on.
Content. We need content. We love that. That's no
I got
problem. Generate it. Yep. Perfect.
Not enough is not my problem. Well, thank you guys. I'll catch you guys sometime soon. Okay.
All right. Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, I'll see you Friday.
Yep. Matt Nair on Air is coming up next here across the Civic Media Radio Network. Dr. Kristen Lyerly will be joining Jane Matnair and Greg Bach coming up just over an hour from now after the 10 o'clock news here across the Civic Media Radio Network. Again, my thanks to everybody who sent in photos of the Northern Lights or has been posting them in various places. Again, it was just an amazing night, amazing displays last night, and some of you are just incredible at taking pictures of these things. And we all promise that in the future, if we get a heads up that it's going to be an especially good night for the Northern Lights, we're going to tell Parker this time, because I feel like
tell me.
I feel like it was like some kind of grand conspiracy that Parker wasn't going to find out. As a person who's under the age of 50. You're on social media nonstop all the time. I don't know how you missed this, but you did.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes I don't know. Most of my social media, Pat, is sports media. That's my problem.
That's true. There need to be more sports groups that stop looking at the game for a moment and look up at the sky. Maybe that's what needs.
Tell me how much the sky looked like the Minnesota Timberwolves
basketball
NBA Cup court.
Yeah. I could totally see that. I really appreciated Gray stopping by to talk about deer hunting, and I told him the story when we were setting this up about how, my dad had tried to take me out deer hunting a few times, and I just wouldn't shut up. I just couldn't. I couldn't do that whole keep quiet thing. And Gray assured me there are plenty of dads who have growing pains with their kids, and eventually some of them get there. I think about my two older grandsons, and again, their dad being a hunting guide, and now they're out there elk hunting in the mountains of Idaho, and getting elk.
I was gonna say, and they're getting like big stuff too.
They're getting big stuff, and of course now I'm getting far away from white-tailed deer here in Wisconsin. But when you're hunting elk, that's a whole different animal. First off, a very tasty animal. If you ever are offered elk steaks, just say yes. Okay. But having said that, you can't just drag an elk out of the woods. Okay. You have to basically cut it up. It's known as quartering. Yeah. Well, and if you're deep into the woods and you got to take it out, 1 quarter at a time because it's so heavy, and then you got to go all the way back, and then take out the next quarter, and then go all the way back into the woods and find it again. And sometimes if it gets a little too close to sunset out there in the mountains, you might see grizzly tracks. And it's at that point that you go, I don't need that. I got enough. I offer that as tribute to Mr. Grizzly,
This is me giving back to the forest.
Yeah, so that's, we don't have that issue here in Wisconsin hunting, thankfully, but I'm sure there will be many other good stories told as part of the Deer Hunters Roundup coming up this weekend. We mentioned in today's history lesson that this is the anniversary of Disney Plus beginning its streaming. I think it would have made a good quiz, but I just thought of it now, of all the various streaming services and when they all started. Now, I mean, like Netflix wasn't a streamer at first. Yeah. Netflix. Do you even remember when Netflix just sent DVDs through the mail?
I don't think I remember it at all, but I do know that's what they used to do.
It sometimes blows my mind to remember getting that red envelope in your mailbox, and there would be the DVD for whatever movie it was that you wanted to see, that you had to wait days for it to be shipped to you. And now you just hit a couple of buttons on your phone and it pops up on your TV.
I can't imagine having enough patience to
you had to
wait for a movie that you wanted to watch 3 days ago. Although it does take me about an hour of scrolling through a streaming service to find something I want to watch.
Isn't that the funny thing, though? I mean, we've got 500 streaming services, each one with 500 movies that you can watch right now. And yet we scroll and we scroll and we scroll trying to find something interesting. I mean, yeah, you waited for DVDs, and much the same way that Amazon.com, the only thing you could find on it in the beginning was books. It was a bookstore. Yeah. It was a bookstore only. And I remember when they first added, I don't remember the first couple of things that they added, like household products or something. And people were all up in arms like, you can't do that. You're a bookstore. And Jeff Bezos said, hold my billions, and then created what we have today. I mean, the little things that something was dropped on our doorstep just the other day. again, from something that used to be a bookstore. But getting back to the streaming services, so we've got Disney Plus started streaming on this day in 2019.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people go through and total up what all these streaming services are costing. Because you've got your Netflix, you got your Disney, you got the Hulu, you got Amazon Prime. I feel like I'm missing at least one other one there. And, some people are
Paramount.
Oh yeah, there's Paramount. It never even occurred to me to go get that one, but other people, or they're paying for YouTube TV, which isn't quite the same thing. But it's so again, not to sound like grandpa, but we had 3 channels on TV and you just watched what was on. So it was a big deal that you could choose a movie and it would show up in the mailbox a few days later in a little red envelope.
That had to feel incredible.
It did. Unless you started racking up the late fees. And did I tell you, I found one years and years later as I was cleaning out the basement. And I see this.
It was
DVD.
in this pile of manuals.
It was in
really
a
weird.
pile, yeah, of manuals and receipts and things. Again, we could just spend this segment every day. Tales from Pat's basement. Tales from a pack rat.
Ugh.
And there was a DVD that long ago I had to send in. The full retail price of the movie, which was probably like $15 or whatever, but instead of 99 cents, because I lost it. I couldn't find it and send it back. And you know what it was? It was Game 7 of the 2004 ALCS between the Red Sox and the Yankees, when the Red Sox were down 3-0 and came all the way back. And it was Game 7 because it was so exciting. I wanted to watch it again.
That rocks that you could get that on demand like that.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so cool.
And now I can get it in 8 seconds, on YouTube. But back then, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
You just had to remember to return the DVD.
It's usually important. Yeah.
It is
Return
kind
the
of
things that don't belong to you.
Exactly. All right. You have a great day there. And to all of you as well, thanks for joining us. My thanks to Greg Gunderson, Bryn Horton, Ellie Bordeaux, Jimmy Koska, and you for being here this morning. I'm Pat Kreitlow, part of Up North News, part of Courier Newsroom, a pro-democracy news network. We'll see you bright and early, 6 a.m. Up North.